Naruto. Six Paths of the Senju Family. Chapter 81. More than half a month has passed since Konoha sent out invitations to the major ninja villages in the ninja world for joint Chunin selections. Teams from several major ninja villages coming to participate in the Chunin selection have also arrived in Konoha one after another. The west gate of Konoha village. The elder of Sunagakure village, Ebizo, led the team and entered Konoha with the wind and sand all over their bodies. The group of boys and girls following him who grew up in the windy and sandy sky of the Kingdom of Wind, had never seen a village with such pleasant weather and beautiful scenery as Konoha. Rasa and Garura walked side by side, looking at the scenery of Konoha, exclaiming in wonder from time to time. Yi Kang looked at the bustling streets of Konoha, his beautiful eyes filled with brilliance. The residents of Konoha who passed by them saw them looking like country people entering the city. They couldn't help but feel proud of being Konoha people and raised their heads proudly. Ebizo looked at the eyes of the Konoha people around him looking at them, and felt a little worried on his face. He reminded the group of young people following him to calm down a little, and then led them towards the reception area of Konoha. For this joint Chunin selection, Hitaki Sakumo arranged the reception area between the Konoha guards and the Sarutobi clan. To the west is the clan land of the three Zu, Lu and Dai families, and to the east is the most prosperous commercial street that will be renamed Yale Avenue in the future. This not only ensures that outsiders are under the supervision of Konoha village, but also allows them to experience the prosperity of Konoha. Ebizo led a group of people along the street to the reception desk and handed the invitation letter to the receptionist. The staff registered the names of all the genin who were preparing to participate in the Chunin selection. In addition, they arranged for someone to take Ebizo to the residence where the leading ninjas of each village were accommodated, and then informed him that the Hokage would personally meet Union at that time. You should find your own rooms first, practice with peace of mind, and don't cause trouble in Konoha. Yes. Ebizo gave some instructions and then left here with the staff who led the way. When the genin saw Ebizo leaving, they couldn't help but let out a suppressed cheer. After finally leaving the village once, how could I have the mind to practice? Luo Sha looked at the people who were eager to try, and also thought about going out to have a look. Even if it's not just for fun, it would be good to find out the strength of the genin from other villages who come to participate in the Chunin selection. This time, a total of 6 people from Sunagakure village came to Konoha to participate in the selection, and they were divided into 2 teams. The team that the 3 of Rasa are in has the older Rasa as the captain, Yekora as the thug, and Garura as the team's mascot. Another team, captained by Garura's younger brother Yoshimaru, led 2 ordinary genin. Rasa and Yoshimaru discussed it and decided to act separately, each taking their own teams out to collect information on other contestants. Yoshimaru's young mind said hello to his sister, then ran out with 2 team members and let himself go. Rasa shook her head and watched Yoshimaru leave, who was still not very stable. After discussing it with Yi Kang, they inquired all the way and headed towards Konoha's training ground. The ninja who was sent to monitor by Danzo gave a signal to his companions in the dark. The 2 got into an uninhabited room, used transformation techniques to transform into 2 young ninjas in their teens, and quietly followed Luo Sha and the others. As for Yoshimaru, there are naturally other ninjas following him in the dark, so they don't need to worry. Konoha's training grounds are built around the outskirts of Konoha village, ranging from number 0 to no. 44. Although some are not open to the public, most of the training grounds are not prohibited from visiting. The premise is that you are not afraid of being killed by a shuriken that misses the target or a ninjutsu that suddenly goes out of control. The 3 of them followed the direction they inquired and walked towards the Konoha training ground. They had just left the downtown area and had not seen the shadow of the training ground when suddenly 2 teenage ninjas wearing Konoha forehead protectors sprang out from the roadside. Hello. 3 brats over there, which village's ninja are you from? Are you also here to participate in the Chunin selection? HMPH. Do you even need to ask? Looking at how they are covered in sand and dressed in tatters, where else could they come from except the backwater Sunagakure village? Since I have the honor to come to Konoha, why not experience it in the village instead of running here? Is it true? Are you afraid that you will fail the Chunin exam and want to escape? Yes. Ha 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 ha. The 2 ninjas sang together and laughed wildly. Luo Sha's pupil shrank slightly and stopped Yi Kang, who was about to take action with an angry look on his face. Both of you. We just came here to see the scenery of Konoha, and we don't want to have a dispute with the ninjas of Konoha. Besides, our Sunagakure village is not a remote village. Please two of you, please show some due respect to Sunagakure village, which is also one of the 5 hidden villages. The mocking Konoha ninja had disdain on his face and an unkind look. Respect. Humph. He's just a defeated general of our Konoha men. I'll put my words here today. Sunagakure village is a remote place, and the ninjas in Sunagakure village are just like you, they are cowards. Luo Sha clenched her hands suddenly and stared at the Konoha ninja in front of her. Chakra slowly seeped into the ground from under his feet, and he used magnetic escape to start mobilizing the placer gold in the ground. The Konoha ninja raised his eyebrows and looked at Luo Sha with a playful expression. Yo! You think you can scare me by holding your fist? You don't even have the courage to take action. You are indeed a weakling. Yi Kang could no longer restrain his anger, quickly formed seals with his hands, opened his mouth and sprayed a ball of fire towards the Konoha ninja. Scorching release fireball. The Konoha ninja heard the word, Shuo dun, and felt the terrifying temperature on the flying fireball, with a hint of surprise in his eyes. A high temperature that far exceeds ordinary fire escape, burning escape. It seems that this is the limit of blood succession that Lord Ballahu is looking for. Holding back the surprise of completing the task in his heart, the Konoha ninja's expression changed and he shouted loudly. How brave! How dare you attack Konoha's ninjas here! Come together, capture these spies pretending to be candidates, and send them to the Hokage. Good. The 2 Konoha ninjas immediately opened their stances and quickly formed seals in their hands. Earth release earth flow wall. The fireball hit the rising earth flow wall, causing a violent explosion. The terrifying high temperature cracked the wall formed by the earth escape. The place directly bombarded by the fireball was actually baked into ceramic by the high temperature. When another Konoha ninja saw this, his eyes showed a look of surprise and joy. Really? The temperature at this bloodline boundary is really terrifyingly high. I'm afraid your identity will be exposed if you continue to fight, retreat. He winked with his companion beside him, formed a water escape seal with his hands, opened his mouth and sprayed out a stream of water. Water release water crush wave. The water flow hit the red earth flow wall that had been baked by the high temperature, and a strong mist suddenly rose. The 2 of them disappeared in an instant through the fog. The moment the 2 people left, a cold male voice came out through the fog. Magnetic release, gold sand shuriken. The shuriken formed by densely packed sand gold penetrated the water mist, shattering the earth flow wall that became fragile when encountering water, and continued to cover the position where the 2 Konoha ninjas were standing just now. There was a dull sound of shurikens being shot into the ground, and Luo Sha frowned in confusion. Kaora released a wind release ninjutsu, blowing away the water mist, and immediately revealed the broken earth wall and the empty ground. Luo Sha's expression changed. These 2 must be trying to collect information about us. Now Yi Kang's burning release has been exposed. Quickly go. Go back to find Elder Ebizo. The underground base of the roots. After receiving the news that Danzo had found the blood successor ninja, Ballahu put down the experiment in his hands and took the rare initiative to come to Danzo's office. The Genin who mocked Rasa was reporting the collected information to Danzo. Lord Danzo, we have determined that among the people from Sunagakure village who came to participate in the Chunin selection, there is a scorch release, blood successor ninja. The blood successor ninja who possesses the burning release is a female. The name registered at the reception desk is Yi Kang. She is 16 years old this year. Her burning release can condense fireballs that emit terrifying heat. Her strength should be higher than that of ordinary Junin. Based on age and strength, Sunagakure village is very likely to have concealed the level of this burning release ninja this time. Above. Danzo nodded, not surprised that Sunagakure village hides its ninja level. In order to be appreciated in front of the daimyo and nobles, and to get more military expenses and tasks for the village, in Danzo's view, it is perfectly normal to use such methods. Ballahu, we have found a blood successor ninja who can use burning release. How about it? Are you interested in this kind of blood successor with the ability to control high temperatures? Ballyhoo naturally heard Genin's report just now, and when he heard Danzo's inquiry, he shook his head with slight regret. I guess the ability of burning escape is caused by the change of the two properties of wind and fire, resulting in the high temperature blood limit. Although the attack power is very strong, the functionality and upper limit may not be too high. I don't like it very much. Any other discoveries? The root ninja shook his head. Just as Ballyhoo was about to turn around and leave with regret, a genin suddenly ran into Danzo's office with a burning smell all over his body. Ignoring the traces of black arcs still beating on his body, he hurriedly reported the detected intelligence to Danzo. Lord Danzo. Someone is coming from Union Village. The team is led by a Junin named Dodai. There is a young ninja in the team who can use a special ninjutsu that combines thunder and water. His thunder escape appears in black, and its penetration into other ninjutsu is very powerful and stable. It may be a new blood inheritance limit. And his thunder escape also has the function of automatically tracking and locking enemies. His subordinates were not aware of it for a moment and almost exposed their identity. Ballyhoo, who was about to leave, heard the characteristics of ninjutsu in the intelligence of this root ninja. His eyes lit up and he turned around and came to the side of this root ninja. You're saying that person's thunderbolt penetration is very powerful, and he can also track the target and attack. The ninja had not noticed that Ballyhoo was here just now. When he saw him suddenly asking, he subconsciously asked Danzo for instructions with his eyes. Danzo nodded indifferently, indicating that it was okay, and he also became somewhat interested in this strange thunder escape. Seeing that Danzo had no objection to telling Ballyhoo, Nagin Ninja nodded to Ballyhoo and said, "Yes, Lord Ballyhoo." Ballyhoo's eyes were filled with joy, he couldn't help but nodded and said, "Well, give me some of their information, and then take me to where they live. I'll see for myself what this kind of thunder escape looks like." Danzo saw that Ballyhoo was eager to take action as soon as he heard about this blood inheritance limit, so he hurriedly stopped him. "Ballyhoo. Don't rush to do it yet. Now the people from the Kingdom of Thunder have just arrived in Konoha. If something happens, I won't be able to explain it to Sarutobi Hiruzen. Just wait a moment. The Chunin selection examination room is outside Konoha village. When the examination begins, there will be plenty of opportunities for you to take action." Ballyhoo stopped and tilted his head slightly towards Danzo behind him, with an evil smile on his lips. "Don't worry, Danzo-sama, I'm just going to plant a seed of Oni Mira's jutsu first, I won't devour him now. Hey, lead the way." After Ballyhoo finished speaking, he pulled the root ninja beside him and the two of them disappeared in an instant. Land of Thunder Reception. Namai changed his usual laziness and led his teammates back to his residence with a serious look on his face. "I didn't expect that people from Konoha would suddenly test us. The information that I have Landun's ability may have been exposed. Let's stay in the room first and wait until Lord Todai comes back." The son of the third Raikage had to practice tacit understanding with his newly selected partner, and his partner Kurabi had just become the eight-tailed Jinchuriki and had not yet fully adapted to the eight tails abilities, so he was busy communicating with the tailed beasts. Therefore, the two most powerful ninjas of Kumogakure's younger generation were left in the village. As a seed contestant sent to Konoha by Kumogakure village to participate in the Chunin examination, Namai is usually lazy, but his strength and brains can be regarded as a leader among the younger generation of Kumogakure village. Just now, their team, like the Rasa team of Sunagakure village, suddenly encountered provocation from several young Konoha ninjas while going out. Two of Namai's team members were so angry that they clashed with each other. Seeing that his teammates were at a disadvantage, Namai had no choice but to take action, using Landun to unexpectedly injure one of the Konoha ninjas. Unexpectedly, after he took action, those Konoha ninjas tested them a little and immediately retreated decisively. Namai felt something was wrong, so he retreated with his teammates. The two teammates also knew that they were a little impulsive this time, which might expose Namai's blood inheritance limit. At this moment, they lowered their heads with guilt on their faces. Ballyhoo asked the Genin who was leading the way about the composition of the Union Village team, and found out that the person with the black thunder escape was a strong young man with white hair and a tattoo of the words, thunder and water, on his left and right shoulders. He also took out the information about Tudai, who led the team in Kumogakure, and studied it, and directly used the transformation technique to transform into the appearance of Tudai. Then he used chakra to control his vocal cords, turning his voice into the voice of Dodai in Genin's impression. Then he walked to the door of the room where Namai's team was, and knocked on the door with his hand. Open the door. I'm back. Namai's two teammates in the room were happy when they heard the familiar voice and immediately got up to open the door. Namai showed a puzzled look, stopped the two teammates, and whispered, etc. I feel something is wrong. Tsuchidai-sama just received an invitation from the Hokage of Konoha and went to greet the third Tsuchikage Onoki. He shouldn't be back so soon. His teammates were also stunned. They felt that Namai's words made sense. They stopped trying to open the door and asked cautiously, Namai, tell me, is it possible that the people outside are accomplices of the guys who attacked us? Did you follow us here? Namai shook his head. I'm not sure either. Just be careful. I'll open the door and take a look. If anything goes wrong, call for help immediately. There are ninjas from several countries here, and Konoha's security team is right next to them. They won't just sit back and watch us encounter danger. The two teammates nodded, drew their weapons, and looked at the door nervously. Namai walked to the door and asked, Is it Master Dodai? Didn't you go to see the third Hokage of Konoha? Why are you back so soon? Biliu Huchung Tutai heard someone in the room respond, and a relaxed smile appeared on his face. These children who have never seen the world are really easy to deceive. They just tell the answer without asking. I was originally discussing the Chunin selection with the third Hokage, but I heard that you were attacked in Konoha and I was worried about your safety, so I came back to take a look. Open the door and let me see if you are hurt. When Namai behind the door heard this, he naturally understood that the person who made the noise outside the door must be fake. He quietly condensed the chakra and prepared for battle. No need, Tutai Nin. None of us were injured. You should go back and rest early. Bei Liu, who felt the chakra fluctuations coming from behind the door, and his face turned cold. He knew that his identity had been discovered by the other party, and a sneer appeared in his eyes. Since you can't fool this little guy, let's just do it. They were just a few young genin, just planting a seed, which was not difficult for Biliu at all. Boom. Click. Biliu attached the steel escape to his right hand and punched the door to pieces, immediately revealing Namai standing behind the door. Looking at the burly young man with white hair standing in front of him, a satisfied smile appeared on Biliu's face. Namai was startled, and quickly formed seals in his hands. A black light appeared from his hands along with the water flow, and quickly shot towards Baruhu. Landun laser beam. Looking at the black lightning light coming from him, there was a hint of surprise in Bei Liu's eyes. Landun. Can you use water to completely control the blood limit of thunder and lightning? It is really special. Such an ability must be integrated into my Oni Yaluo technique. In the midst of the lightning and flint, Bei Liu stretched out his left hand to face the incoming lightning, with two diamond-shaped holes opening in his palm. Mingdu sucked the holes. Like a swallow returning to its nest, the black Landun disappeared into the hole in Bei Liu's palm and disappeared. Namai has never seen such a situation before. I was stunned for a moment. Biruhu's right hand quickly reached out and pressed Namai's forehead. The Oni Yaluo technique in the body released a breath, leaving a red eye symbol on Namai's forehead, and then disappeared. Biliu retracted his hand, nodded with satisfaction, and disappeared in an instant. Snort. Uchiha Fugaku looked at the direction where the figure disappeared with an ugly expression, and snorted bitterly. Fugaku, who had just heard the noise in the security team, rushed to the scene as quickly as possible. Seeing that the ninja who attacked Kumogakure to take the genin test had escaped, he immediately began to pursue him. The man's speed was not actually very fast. With Fugaku's strength, if nothing unexpected happened, it shouldn't take long for him to catch up. Just when he was about to catch up, several shurikens suddenly shot at Fugaku from the darkness. Fugaku was slightly taken aback and quickly evaded, while being careful to guard against attacks that might come from the darkness again. But because of this, I could only watch the escaping figure disappear at the corner of the street, with no possibility of catching up. After being on guard for a while, the attacker in the dark did not attack again and seemed to have quietly retreated. Naturally, Fugaku found nothing, so he had to return to the Kumogakure ninja's residence, hoping to get some clues from the players who were attacked. Standing in front of the broken room of Team Namai, Uchiha Fugaku looked at the people who were attacked. Are you the ninjas from Cloud Hidden Village who came to take the Chunin exam? I'm really sorry that several people were attacked within the protection of the police. Have you suffered any injuries or lost any property? If so, please make a list to me, and Konoha will compensate you accordingly. Namai stopped the two team members who looked angry and shook his head calmly. We were not hurt at all. Thank you very much. Fugaku glanced at the broken door, pointed at the fragments scattered on the floor and asked. You and the attacker should have fought, right? Can you provide some information about the attacker? The security team may be able to determine the origin of the attacker based on the intelligence. Namai nodded and described the process to Fugaku. Well, you mean he just pressed you lightly on your forehead and didn't do anything else? Namai nodded, feeling a little strange. Yes. The man's behavior was very strange. Apart from trying to trick us into opening the door at first, he didn't say anything after that. Namai thought for a moment and then said. Oh, right. I attacked him once with the Thunder Release ninjutsu, but it was absorbed by the two strange holes in his palms. I heard he said that ninjutsu is called Mingdun Suction Hole. Fugaku's eyes lit up and he muttered a few words. Ming escape, sucking holes. Well, this information is very valuable, thank you for your cooperation. I'll have someone rearrange a room for you so you can rest peacefully. Don't worry, the security team will find the attacker as soon as possible based on the clues you provided. If there is any progress, the security team will notify you in time. Seeing that Fugaku had already politely apologized and made arrangements, Namai's teammates could no longer hold the guard responsible. After a few polite exchanges, Fugaku said goodbye and left. Fugaku thought about it in his mind and decided to go back to the Uchiha clan to ask the knowledgeable Uzumaki Mito for advice. As a member of the family, Naoki naturally had no intention of hiding Fugaku, not to mention that grandma lived in Uchiha Makoto's house, so she couldn't hide it even if she wanted to. Therefore, Uchiha Fugaku can be regarded as one of the insiders of the Kyuubi incident. Returning to the clan, Fugaku walked directly to Makoto's house. By coincidence, I met the rope tree who came to visit my grandma. Brother Fugaku, why are you looking so sad? Are you having trouble with your work as a security force? Fugaku saw that it was a rope tree and did not hide it. He nodded and said. There is indeed some trouble. Just now, Kumogakure's contestants participating in the Chunin selection were attacked by unknown persons, using rather strange methods. I want to ask that lady for advice. She is well informed and may know who that person is. Shungshu became interested and continued to ask. The method is strange. How strange can it be? There is a type with two holes in the palm of your hand that can absorb thunder escape ninjutsu, called Ming Release. The name sounds like it's a kind of blood inheritance, so I said it's a little strange. When Shungshu heard Ming Dun, he thought of someone. Escape. Then have you asked the attacker if he did anything else to Kumogakure's people? Fugaku thought for a while and said. It seems there is. That person touched Union's young man's forehead, and he doesn't know why. I couldn't see any changes in that Kumogakure's body even with my Sharingan. I guess there is a high probability that they are people from other villages. I want to test the strength of Kumogakure player in advance. A smile appeared on Naoshu's face and he shook his head slightly. Brother Fugaku, you guessed it wrong. If you ask others, no one will know about this person who can use the realm of blood inheritance such as Mingdu. But you happened to ask me, so you asked the right person. Fugaku was puzzled. Do you know the origin of that person? Shungshu nodded and said. Good. If the man didn't make other moves, I can't identify him yet. But now, I'm basically sure who that person is. Who? Do you still remember the mission the third Hokage sent Orochimaru-sensei to carry out last time to hunt down the traitorous ninja? Fugaku said thoughtfully. Are you talking about the traitorous nin who killed his colleagues in the village for human experiments? The security team also received a notice classifying that person as a traitorous ninja. I remember his name was. Seeing that Fugaku had been thinking hard for a long time, Naoki couldn't help but remind him. Bei Liuhu. Oh. Yes. It's called Bei Liuhu. Fugaku suddenly realized, and then said doubtfully. Then how did you know it was him? Shungshu smiled. Brother Fugaku may not know. Teacher Orochimaru told me that Biru who developed a secret technique that can gain power by devouring other people's bodies, the Onamera no Jutsu. When Mr. Orochimaru captured him, he saw with his own eyes that Biru who used the steel release blood sequence limit, which has a defense greater than the earth release earth spear, and the dark release blood sequence limit that can absorb all attribute ninjutsu attacks. But he was very unlucky. He happened to meet Mr. Orochimaru who was armed with the Kusanagi sword and was good at snake ninjutsu. His abilities were completely defeated. Fugaku was confused. In this case, Bilyuhu should be caught, right? Naoshu nodded and sighed. It's just like the situation you encountered just now. You were rescued halfway. Fugaku suddenly realized, but his expression became solemn. So, the one who attacked Kumogakure this time was Ballyhoo. As a rebel of Konoha, he actually dares to launch an attack in the village blatantly. I'm afraid. Yes. Someone in the village is protecting him, and this person's status is definitely not low. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any ninjas secretly calling for Bilyuhu to die. Naoki said resolutely, already targeting Danzo in his mind. Whatever happened in Konoha, put the blame on Danzo, 99% of the time it will not be wrong. Danzo, without the help of Orochimaru-sensei, you are still evil-minded. Do you want to find Biruhu and continue to conduct would escape experiments for you? Covering Konoha rebels and conducting human modification experiments. In this case, I have another reason to kill you. Naoki sneered secretly in his heart and waved his hand to Fugaku. Brother Fugaku, don't investigate this matter anymore. I already know roughly who is helping Bilyuhu. When this Chunin joint selection is over, I will personally find these guys to settle the matter. A sudden noise came from the west gate of Konoha, attracting the attention of Naoki and Fugaku who were talking. Turning around, he saw a group of ninjas wearing Omegakure forehead protectors and gas masks entering Konoha from the west gate. Some well-informed Konoha villagers exclaimed when they saw the leading man. This costume is that of the legendary leader of the Rain Country, Sancho Hanzo, who is known as the demigod of the ninja world. Ah! Is he the strong man who gave Lord Orochimaru and the others the title of Sannin of Konoha? I didn't expect that he would come to Konoha this time. Yes. After the people around knew the identity of Sancho Hanzo, no matter whether they recognized him or not, they couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Sancho Hanzo led Nagato, Yahiko and Konan towards the interior of Konoha village without looking away. Naoki looked at the visitor with a smile on his face, turned to Uchiha Fugaku and said. Brother Fugaku, the legendary ninja demigod is here. Do you want to go and have a look? Fugaku obviously didn't have much affection for the ninjas of Omegakure village. He just looked at Sancho Hanzo and snorted coldly. He's just an executioner who started a war for his own selfish desires. Naoki then remembered that the Uchiha clan lost many men on the battlefield in the Land of Rain, including Makoto's mother. Thinking of this, Shungshu suddenly felt that things had become difficult to handle. What if the Uchiha clan cannot accept that Sancho Hanzo is now one of their own, and Makoto becomes dissatisfied with him because of this? Fugaku was keenly aware of some changes in Natsuki's expression and looked at him doubtfully. Rose Tree, are you okay? Shungshu came back to his senses and laughed twice, not knowing how to explain. Cough. Brother Fugaku, I'm fine. But, Fugaku saw that Natsuki was hesitant in speaking, and couldn't help but show a confused look. But what? Shungshu struggled for a while, but finally said bravely. If I say that Sancho Hanzo wants to form an alliance with us now, what will the Uchiha clan think? Fugaku was stunned, not expecting Naoki to suddenly ask this question. As a demigod in the ninja world, Sancho Hanzo is also the leader of a village. Even if he wants to form an alliance, he will only discuss it directly with the third Hokage. As for the Uchiha clan, what thoughts are important? Then it depends on what the third Hokage wants. This matter is not something we, the Uchiha clan, can decide. Rose Tree, why are you asking this all of a sudden? Naoki looked at Sancho Hanzo who was walking towards him. The other party had obviously seen him and was nodding to him. No, not an alliance with the third Hokage. I mean, with us. Naoki looked at Uchiha Fugaku seriously and spoke word by word. Fugaku finally came to his senses and looked at the rope tree with some uncertainty. You mean Sanshoyu Hanzo is now on our side? Naoshu nodded. At that time, Orochimaru Sensei and the others were defeated by Sanshoyu Hanzo. Then I defeated Sansho Hanzo and controlled him with the genjutsu of the Sharingan, turning him into my subordinate. So, Fugaku understood what Naoki hadn't finished and suddenly understood. So, you are saying that Sanshoyu Hanzo is one of ours now? Naoki continued to nod, looking at Fugaku with some worry, fearing that he would say no. Although with Naoki's current strength, it would be easy to subdue the Uchiha clan. But after all, Makoto is also a member of the Uchiha clan. If the relationship can be less tense, it would be better to reach a consensus. Fugaku thought for a while, then a relieved smile appeared on his face and he patted Natsuki on the shoulder. So you are worried about the Uchiha clan's opinion on this matter? Ha ha. As a ninja, it is normal to die at the hands of the enemy. Let alone during a war. Besides, the Uchiha clan are not fools. We all understand why the third Hokage sent the Uchiha clan to the battlefield in the Land of Rain. The main reason for this matter is not your fault. On the contrary, Sanshoyu Hanzo's strength is obvious to all. Now that he has become one of our own, it can be considered a great help. Seeing that Natsuki's expression was still worried, Fugaku added another sentence. You don't have to worry about Makoto, haven't you already killed Sanshoyu Kanda and avenged Makoto's mother? For the sake of the overall situation, I believe Makoto won't care about this. Uchiha Fugaku was worthy of being the leader of a clan, and he could see the essence of the matter in an instant. After hearing what Fugaku said, Natsuki's brows relaxed and he gave Fugaku a grateful smile. Well, thank you, brother Fugaku. Fugaku laughed and said. Let's go. Since we are all our own, why should we go and greet them? Good. The two of them looked at each other and smiled, then walked towards Sanshoyu Hanzo. Your Majesty Demigod, it's been a hard journey. The current leader of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku, is responsible for the arrangements for the ninjas from various countries who come to Konoha this time. Please, Lord Demigod, come with me to my residence. Uchiha Fugaku, as the captain of the security team, was responsible for the arrangement and protection of people from all over the world. He stepped forward first and exchanged greetings with Sansho Hanzo with a smile on his face. Sansho Hanzo recognized Fugaku's origin from the mark on his clothes, and was a little surprised that the Uchiha clan would be so kind to him, the leader of a megacure village. Seeing Naoki standing next to Fugaku nodding to him, he immediately understood that the other party was also in the same camp as him. He secretly admired the rope tree's methods in his heart, and a smile appeared on his face hidden by the mask. Your Excellency, you're welcome. Please lead the way. PLZ follow me. The two walked in front of each other, talking and laughing, and there was no trace of the fact that it was just the first time that these two people met. The three dwarfs following Sanshoyu Hanzo passed by the rope tree and suddenly stopped together. The three villains lowered their heads, exchanged glances with each other behind their hoods, and then suddenly turned around and rushed toward the rope tree. Ha! Got you! Hearing the girl's coquettish shout, Naoshu showed a big smile on his face and stood there without evading. When the three bodies pounced on them, he grabbed the three little ones and hugged them together. Ha ha! Little girl, you still want to attack the teacher. Aren't you afraid that the teacher will spank you? He stretched out his hand and lifted the hoods of the three little guys. It was Konan, Yahiko and Nagato. Xiaonan enjoyed the teacher's long-awaited embrace and rubbed her little head on the rope tree's chest like a kitten. Yahiko and Nagato felt a little uncomfortable and struggled to escape. Naoshu touched the hair of the three of them respectively and took Xiaonan's little hand. People from several other countries have come, but I haven't seen you. The teacher is still thinking, do you not want to come to Konoha to see the teacher at all? Yahiko touched his head and laughed twice. Teacher, because Master Hanzo gave us intensive training before we came, we set off a little late. We want to come to Konoha to see the teacher every day. Don't you think so, Nagato? Yahiko bumped Nagato with his arm. Nagato hesitated for a while, but nodded slightly. Naoki let go of Konan and rubbed Yahiko and Nagato's heads vigorously. Okay. The teacher knows what you are thinking. Let's go. Come with me to the Thousand Hands clan. Yahiko, teacher, I'll give you another small stove. Yahiko had a surprise on his face and nodded hurriedly. The teacher gave him the psychic beast when he opened the small stove for the first time. Now he has realized what a real fragrance is. Conan, your sister Tsunade still keeps the flower you gave her. She is always thinking about when you can come and see her. Xiaonan agreed abruptly, smiling with her eyebrows creasing. Naoki looked at Nagato with a hint of emotion in his eyes. Nagato, let me introduce you to someone. She may be one of your few relatives. Nagato raised his head suddenly, a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Teacher, is what you said true? Yes. Her name is Uzumaki Kushina, she is my sister. I should be about 5 years older than you. Just like you, I have red hair. Naoki nodded and said to Nagato. Nagato grabbed the hand that was on his head and held it tightly. Teacher, take me there. Good. When Naoki returned to the Senju clan with the 3 little ones, the 2 shameless guys happened to be surrounding Tsunade and Kushina. When Conan saw that Jiraiya was also in the Senju clan's territory, he immediately broke away from Naoki's hand and ran towards Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sensei. Here we come. Jiraiya, who was being courteous to Tsunade, heard the call, turned around and saw Conan running towards him. An old fatherly smile suddenly appeared on his face. He knelt down and opened his hands, picked up Xiaonan's small body and spun her around. After living together for 4 years, these little ones have long become a part of his life. After being separated for more than half a month, and then suddenly seeing them again, naturally he felt extremely happy. Yahiko, Nagato, are you tired after walking such a long way? The 2 boys, Yahiko and Nagato, were not as affectionate as Conan. They just looked at Jiraiya with joyful eyes and shook their heads. Jiraiya-sensei, we are not tired. Minato on the side was attracted by the sudden appearance of 3 little guys, walked to Jiraiya and asked. Teacher, who are they? Jiraiya put down Conan and introduced to Minato. Minato, these are Conan, Yahiko, and Nagato, the disciples whom the teacher has taught for 4 years in the land of rain. Then he pointed at Minato and said to Sanshao, you 3 little heartless little ones, he is different from your 2 teachers, Rope Tree and me. His name is Namikaze Minato, and he is me, your teacher Jiraiya. A disciple of one person. Ha 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 ha. The 3rd child and Jiraiya have lived together for 4 years, and they already know what kind of person he is, and no one pays attention to his pretentious behavior. Xiaonan Chao walked up to Minato and stretched out her little hand. Hello. I am Jiraiya-sensei's disciple. My name is Conan. I am 9 years old. Minato had a sunny smile on his face and was about to hold Conan's hand. Yahiko, who was standing beside him, immediately stopped. He rushed up quickly, blocking Xiaonan behind him, and looked at Minato, who was a little more handsome than him, with an unkind look. Well, he's just a little bit more handsome. But I look much more manly than he does. Yahiko thought to himself. Nagato stood beside Yahiko and Conan like a little follower, and nodded slightly to Minato as a greeting. Kushina stared at Nagato's red hair and murmured, red hair. The same color as me and Grandma Mito. He couldn't help but walked up to Nagato and looked at the boy who was a little shorter than himself. Is your name Nagato? What's your last name? Nagato looked up at the red-haired girl in front of him, and a feeling of kindness surged out of his heart. Hearing Kushina ask his last name, Nagato thought of his deceased father and mother, and his eyes suddenly dimmed. I don't have a last name. Kushina reached out and grabbed Nagato's arm, and felt the chakra in Nagato's body. This kind of chakra full of vitality is still red hair. Besides the blood of the Uzumaki clan, who else in the entire ninja world? Kushina shook her head slightly. No. You have a last name. My name is Uzumaki Kushina, and you should be called Uzumaki Nagato like me. Nagato looked at Uzumaki Kushina, who exuded the aura of a family member, and a sour feeling suddenly came from his eyes. The yin nine tails in Kushina's body suddenly stood up with excitement, and her pupils narrowed into a slit. Reincarnation Eye. A stream of chakra spread from Kyuubi's body and slowly appeared outside Kushina's body through the seal. Shungshu's pupils shrank and he shouted. Brother Jiraiya, barrier. Jiraiya also felt the emergence of the nine-tailed chakra. Hearing the reminder from the rope tree, he did not dare to neglect it. He put his hands together and opened the huge sky cover, isolating all fluctuations within the Senju clan. Kushina looked at the nine-tailed chakra that suddenly appeared on her body and asked in surprise. Nine Lama, why did you come out? Kyuubi ignored Kushina's doubts. Chakra slowly condensed on Kushina's body into the shape of a fox's head, staring at Nagato's face covered by hair. Rose tree, this kid has the aura of the Samsara eye. The Uzumaki clan has no foundation that can provide the awakening of the Samsara eye. He can't be a special case like you. Naoki was not surprised by Kyuubi's slightly double-standard view. After all, he had demonstrated the power of Yin-Yang Dan and Sharingan in front of Kyuubi. It was only after he showed his potential to Kyuubi that he reluctantly gained its approval. Even with this potential, with his current strength, he still does not meet the requirements for awakening the Samsara eye. And Nagato is just an 8 or 9-year-old boy. Why does he have the ability to awaken the Samsara eye? He does have the Samsara eye. However, he does have the blood of the Uzumaki clan, otherwise he wouldn't be able to survive until now after the power of the Samsara eye exploded twice. Nagato looked at the teacher and the chakra-formed fox in confusion, not quite understanding what they were saying. What is the Samsara eye? What kind of Uzumaki clan bloodline? Kyuubi suddenly remembered what Naoki once said, his eyes changed, and his body began to exude terrifying murderous aura. Then there is only one possibility. The Rinnegan in his eyes belongs to that Uchiha Madara. I will destroy it now. No matter what Uchiha Madara's plan is, he has lost his reincarnation eye, hahaha. He sneered. Kyuubi raised his claws and was about to swing at Nagato. Etc. Naoki took a step forward and stood in front of Nagato, blocking Kyuubi's attack. Get out of the way. I won't kill him, I just destroy the Samsara eye. No big deal, just make him another pair of eyes. Naoki shook his head and turned to look at Nagato. He reached out and lifted up the red hair hanging down in front of Nagato's face, revealing his Rinnegan. Nagato was a little uncomfortable with the sudden broadening of his sight, and his body shrank, with a hint of confusion in his lavender Samsara eyes. Nagato, what Kurama said is actually true. These eyes are indeed not your original eyes. You have the blood of the Uzumaki clan, there is no mistake about that. But similarly, you who inherited the immortal body of the Uzumaki clan cannot awaken the immortal eyes again. You choose for yourself. Should you keep these eyes, or destroy them and let the teacher create a pair of eyes that truly belong to you? No matter what you choose, the teacher will support you. Nagato was silent for a while, as if he had made up his mind, his purple eyes stared at the rope tree. Teacher. Are these eyes related to the death of my parents? Naoshu nodded. Then the owner of these eyes is the Uchiha Madara you are talking about. Naoshu nodded again. Then why did he choose me? And even killed my parents? Shungshu was silent for a while, then softly said. Uchiha Madara is a person who will do whatever it takes to achieve his goals. Since he chose to do this, he must have his purpose, and the teacher can't tell you the real answer. Nagato's expression darkened. But, there is a place where you may be able to find the answer. When Rushu said this, the topic suddenly changed. Nagato's eyes suddenly lit up and he asked eagerly. Teacher, where? Uchiha clan, Nanga Shrine. There is a stone tablet there, which is said to have been left by the Immortal of Six Paths. It records information about immortal eyes. And, how to obtain the power of all things. Back then, Uchiha Madara once told my grandfather that he had found a way to achieve permanent peace in the ninja world from the stone tablet. Perhaps, maybe it has something to do with these reincarnation eyes. Nagato's eyes showed hope and he grabbed Naoki's arm. Teacher, please take me to see that stone tablet. Naoki agreed to Nagato's request, leaving a few little ones in Tsunade's care, and prepared to take Nagato to Nanga Shrine. Jiraiya insisted on going with him because he was worried about his disciples. Naoki didn't stop him. He put away Nagato's Omegakure ninja costume and forehead protector, and changed him into Konoha-style clothes. The three of them left the Senju clan together and walked towards the Uchiha clan. These little guys don't know what the Samsara eye is, and naturally they don't understand what the Samsara eye actually represents. On the contrary, he was very interested in the fox formed by the sudden appearance of chakra in Kushina's body, so he gathered around Kushina and asked. Kushina had never been treated like this before. After getting Tsunade's tacit permission, she chattered about the origin of the Kyuubi to the two little guys and Namikaze Minato. I'll tell you. This is my biggest secret, sister. You must never tell others. Conan and Yahiko nodded in agreement, their eyes full of curiosity, eager to know what the talking chakra was about. Minato heard Kushina say that this was her biggest secret, and immediately listened carefully to Kushina's story. That big fox is called Nine Llamas, and it is the most powerful tailed beast in the legend. 9 tails. Conan raised her hand and asked, Sister Kushina, is the most powerful tailed beast only as big as the one you just saw? Kushina shook her head and said, Not. It is now sealed in my sister's body, that's why it looks so small. If you release it, it will become as high as a mountain. I can crush you all with just one kick. Conan looked at Kushina with admiration, her eyes filled with little stars. Wow! Sister Kushina is so powerful. She can actually seal such a big fox into her belly. It must hurt, right? Kushina puffed up her chest proudly, showing a nonchalant expression. What the hell? I'm telling you. When I sealed the 9 tails. Minato listened to Kushina's narration, looked at Kushina who was talking and gesticulating with a lively expression, his hands slowly clenched into fists, and they clenched tightly. So, behind Kushina's smile, is she carrying such a mission? It turns out that she works hard every day to learn the sealing technique just to be able to seal the 9 tails for Konoha. It turns out that I have never really cared about or understood her pain. Minato fell deeply into self-doubt. But Minato was Minato after all, and his perseverance made him cheer up quickly. No. Even if I can't share the pain for Kushina, I will still work hard to practice. I must become Hokage in the future and protect Kushina's safety. After all, I am the 5th Hokage who has been personally recognized by Naoki-senpai. Minato looked at Kushina with burning eyes and thought firmly in his heart. The 3 Naoki walked in silence, and finally came to the Uchiha clan and met Uchiha Yashira. Lord Nawaki. Lord Jiraiya. Welcome to the Uchiha clan. You two came to the Uchiha clan, what's the matter? Clan Chief Fugaku has told me that when he is not in the clan, whatever problems Mr. Nogeki has, he can leave them to me to handle. Uchiha Yashira greeted the two of them and said these words to the rope tree enthusiastically. Jiraiya looked at the two of them in surprise, somewhat confused as to why the elders of the Uchiha clan were so enthusiastic towards the rope tree. Naoki didn't mean to explain to Jiraiya. He nodded to Uchiha Yashira, pulled Nagato to him and said, 8th elder, this child is my disciple. This time I came to the Uchiha clan just for him. Uchiha Yashira observed Nagato, and a kind smile suddenly appeared on his face. I see. You are indeed a young genius with so much chakra in your body at such a young age. No wonder I became the disciple of His Excellency Shungshu. Uchiha Yashira praised Nagato and looked at the rope tree with a smile. Then I wonder what's wrong with this disciple of yours. As long as I can help you, just ask. Naoki nodded and said, I heard that there is a stone tablet left by the 6 Paths sage in the Nanga shrine of the Uchiha clan. I want to take him to read the content on the stone tablet. I wonder if the 8th generation elder can do something convenient. Uchiha Yashira looked a little hesitant, looked into Naoki's eyes and said, Your Majesty Naoki. Although I don't know where you heard this information, that stone tablet can only be viewed by the leader of the Uchiha clan. Seeing Naoki's expression suddenly become a little unhappy, Uchiha Yashira quickly explained. Don't get me wrong, Mr. Shungshu. What I mean is that although only the clan leader can watch, there is no problem with the identity of Mr. Shungshu. Only. The content on that stone tablet can only be seen by clan members who have opened the Sharingan. Your disciple. Rotree waved his hand. Elder Yashira, don't worry about the Sharingan. Just take us there. If Brother Fugaku blames you afterwards, I will explain to him. Uchiha Yashira heard the meaning behind Naoki's words, and he was afraid that there was some secret in it that was not suitable for him to know. Now that Naoki had taken the initiative to take on the responsibility, Yashira Uchiha simply stopped insisting. He nodded and led the 3 of them to the entrance to the underground chamber of Nanga Shrine. This is where the stone tablet is stored. Uchiha Yashira pointed to a hidden entrance and said to the rope tree. Jiraiya-sama, please stay outside with me. According to the rules of the Uchiha clan, outsiders are not allowed to enter easily here. Jiraiya also knew that Nezuki had the Sharingan, but he didn't have any other thoughts about Uchiha Yashira's different treatment. He nodded and stood there with Yashira Uchiha, watching Naoki and Nagato enter the underground secret room. There was darkness in the secret room. She searched for it and used fire release to light the two candlesticks. The scene in the secret room was immediately reflected in the eyes of the two people under the candlelight. Except for a stone platform with a stone tablet and the Uchiha clan symbol hanging behind the stone platform, the entire secret room seemed empty. Shungshu walked to the stone platform. The surface of the slightly rough stone tablet seemed to be covered with a layer of mist, making it look hazy. It seems that the content of the stone tablet can only be seen by the Sharingan. Naoki thought about it, opened the Mangekyo Sharingan, and looked at the stone tablet again. Under the influence of the Mangekyo Sharingan, the fog on the stone tablet seemed to have been dispelled, and rows of writings were suddenly revealed. Only a small part on the left is left, still shrouded in fog, making it difficult to see clearly. Naoki didn't care, and called Nagato, and the two of them just stood in front of the stone monument and started looking at it. Although Naoki couldn't see the last part due to the restriction of Sharingan level, some of the previous records about ancient times also made him read with interest. After watching for a while, Naoki silently complained about Black Zetsu and Uchiha Madara. Hey, Zetsu is really not very particular. He changed some of the words of the Immortal of Six Paths and left some of them behind. The way to advance the Sharingan has not changed. It has completely changed what happened in the ancient ninja world. The battle of the Sage of Six Paths to seal Kagaya Otsutsuki was completely erased, and the dispersion of the ten-tailed chakra to create tailed beasts was also ignored. Even the fight between Asura and Indra, the successors of the ninja sect, was not mentioned at all. Is there only a way to awaken the Samsara Eye and bring peace to the ninja world on the stone tablet? The main purpose of Six Paths Sage leaving the stone tablet is to enlighten the minds of the reincarnated Indra chakra through the hard-won peace in the ninja world. Heiju changed it like this, tisk tisk. Shungshu shook his head and sighed secretly. Uchiha Madara is also an idiot. He believes whatever is written here. If it is true that the method described above about using the infinite Tsukuyomi to achieve peace in the ninja world is true, with the style of Sage of Six Paths who sacrifices everything for the sake of the ninja world, will he leave such a mess to his descendants? Sure enough, Mr. Ban's brain circuit was definitely knocked stupid by Mudun at that time. Otherwise, he wouldn't have even thought of this. How pathetic. The Samsara eyes in Nagato's eyes emitted a faint purple light, and the contents on the stone tablet were clearly visible. The content recorded on this stone tablet is divided into 3 parts. The beginning records the creation of the ninja sect by the Rokudo sage, the process of dispersing chakra, and his expectations for the future peace of the ninja world. The middle part is the same as what can be seen currently in the rope tree, recording the opening and evolution of the immortal eye. They are the ways to advance the Sharingan at each stage, from 1 Magatama to 3 Magatama, from 3 Magatama to Kaleidoscope, and from Kaleidoscope to Eternal Kaleidoscope, the eye-opening process that needs to be experienced. At the end of this part, it also records how to obtain the power of Senra's imaging and the possibility of evolving the Sharingan into the Rinnegan. The last part of the content on the stone tablet, except for Uchiha Madara who had seen it before, was now also displayed in front of Nagato. Six Paths Sage, in order to worry about the ninja world falling into endless war, left a way to achieve permanent peace. This method is called Infinite Tsukuyomi. Use the Samsara Eye to channel the body of the 10 tails, the heretic demon, and collect the power of the 9-tailed beasts. Fuse the 9-tailed beasts into one, and resurrect the 10 tails. Become the 10-tailed Jinchuriki, project power into the moon, open the eye of the moon, and activate the ultimate illusion, Infinite Tsukuyomi. This world will usher in true peace. Nagato couldn't help but feel excited as he read the last part. He reached out to touch his eyes and murmured, "Is this the true power of the Rinnegan? The Infinite Tsukuyomi that brings eternal peace to the ninja world?" Although Sushu couldn't see the last part of the content recorded on the stone tablet, he was familiar with the plot and already knew the general outline. Therefore, he was not very curious about the part that could only be seen with the reincarnation eye. Instead, he silently looked at the content on the stone tablet. After recording the contents, Nagato's face slowly glowed with excitement. Hearing the murmur in Nagato's head, now Shu couldn't help but stretched out his hand and slapped Nagato on the head. You brat. Are you so easily brainwashed by the content recorded on the stone tablet? Have you forgotten why you came here? Have you understood the evolution process of the samsara eye? Do you think these eyes are your own now? Nagato was woken up by the rope tree, and he suddenly became excited, and the excitement in his heart receded like the tide. Yes. Although the samsara eye has such a powerful ability, it is also said on the stone tablet. The eye of reincarnation is the power of all things that can only be born by combining the ultimate power of yin and yang. And I don't even have the Sharingan, which represents the power of yin, so how can I possibly awaken the samsara eye on my own? It seems that these eyes really belong to the person named Uchiha Madara, as the fox said. Nagato turned to look at the rope tree, the samsara eyes flashing slightly. Teacher, I probably know what that Uchiha Madara wants to use me for. An interesting smile appeared on Naoki's face. He looked at Nagato and said. Oh, tell me. If, as the teacher said, he was from the same era as the first Hokage, he must be very old now, or even no longer alive. He wants to use a technique recorded in the eyes of reincarnation to allow me to resurrect him in the future, so that he can complete the ultimate illusion recorded on the stone tablet, infinite Tsukuyomi, and bring eternal peace to the ninja world. Now Shu nodded. Then do you think his plan will succeed? And can the infinite Tsukuyomi really bring permanent peace to the ninja world? Nagato shook his head and said uncertainly. I don't know. I don't even know who Uchiha Madara is. Why is he so sure that I will resurrect him in the future? As for infinite Tsukuyomi, judging from the ability of the samsara eye recorded on the stone tablet, I think it is still possible to achieve peace. Now Shu shook his head. Nagato, think about it again. What is the full name of infinite Tsukuyomi? Full name. Nagato didn't quite understand what the teacher meant. After thinking for a while, he asked tentatively, the ultimate illusion. Right. Illusion. Naoki snapped his fingers and nodded seriously to Nagato. No matter how powerful it is, no matter how powerful the samsara eye is, it is still just an illusion. Do you think the ninja world will become peaceful if it is controlled by genjutsu? Nagato shook his head slightly. Won't. Although I don't know what the effect of infinite Tsukuyomi is, I know that when a person falls under the illusion, it's just like dreaming. After waking up, it's still the same as before. Those who should go to the battlefield will still go to the battlefield, and those who should be hungry will still go to war. Rushu clapped his hands in admiration. It seems you understand. Yes, illusion is just illusion after all, and it is impossible to achieve true peace in the ninja world. If the method on this stone tablet was left by the immortal of 6 paths, with his ability, since he can achieve permanent peace, why wouldn't he use it? If he has already used it and the ninja world is still like this, then it means that the infinite Tsukuyomi is a lie. Uchiha Madara. Humph. He's just a fool who was deceived by this lie. Naoki paused and looked into Nagato's eyes. As for why Uchiha Madara is so sure that you will resurrect him in the future, the teacher has some speculations here. Do you want to listen? Nagato nodded and looked at the teacher seriously. After all, the ninjutsu recorded in the eyes of reincarnation requires the life of the user to resurrect others, so Nagato couldn't help but ignore it. You are right. As far as I know, although Uchiha Madara is not dead yet, he is already old. He no longer has enough time and energy to complete this so-called Eye of the Moon plan to release infinite Tsukuyomi. So, he needs a proxy, a carrier that can carry the power of the samsara eye after his death to execute this plan for him. Then, who is more suitable than a child who comes from the Uzumaki clan, whose parents died tragically at the hands of Konoha ninjas, and whose heart is full of injustice and resentment towards the world? If Naoki had something to say, Nagato's body was shaken. My ordinary life before the age of 4, I suddenly fell into a coma, my parents died tragically in front of my eyes, and I suddenly awakened to the eye of reincarnation. A picture appeared in his mind, and Nagato murmured, yes. Who else is more suitable than me? Shu continued. But just finding the right candidate is not enough. The prerequisite for executing the Eye of the Moon plan is to collect tailed beasts. But the tailed beasts are all in the hands of the major ninja villages, and they are the most important strategic force of the ninja villages. So, collecting tailed beasts means becoming the enemy of the entire ninja world, which means starting a war in the ninja world. When Nagato heard about the war, he couldn't help but clenched his fists. Then what will it take to make this agent decide to launch a war against the entire ninja world? Naoki's eyes suddenly became gloomy. He looked into Nagato's eyes and said word by word. The answer is, kill his most cherished companion. Nagato's eyes suddenly opened wide and he looked at the teacher in disbelief. Nagato, if you grow up, with Yahiko's peace-loving character, will you unite and work for peace in the ninja world? Nagato thought of Yahiko and Konan, a knowing smile appeared on his face, and he nodded vigorously. Most definitely. A smile flashed in Naoki's eyes, and he continued, then, if Sancho Hanzo is not the teacher's subordinate, you will definitely not recognize Sancho Hanzo's policy of launching war in Yuyin village in the future. What will you do? Nagato thought for a while and said hesitantly, maybe Yahiko will continue to work for peace, find more like-minded people, and publicize the dangers of war in Omegakure village. The smile in Naoshu's eyes grew stronger. This will cause two voices to appear in Yuyin village. One is Sancho Hanzo, and the other is you. Then at this time, Sancho Hanzo will definitely find a way to integrate the power of the Kingdom of Rain so that there is only one voice in the Kingdom of Rain. So Sancho Hanzo captured Konan and Yahiko, trying to force you to join the war camp. If you don't agree, he will kill Yahiko and Konan. What will you do? Nagato knew that this was the teacher's speculation, but he couldn't help but said angrily, kill him. Naoshu nodded. Okay. Sancho Hanzo killed Konan and Yahiko, and you killed Sancho Hanzo. The entire Kingdom of Rain is ruled by you. But Konan and Yahiko are dead, and you are trapped in pain and hatred. At this time, someone suddenly appears and tells you to use the Samsara Eye to channel the heretic demon, collect the tailed beasts and release the infinite Tsukuyomi. A whole new world can be created, and Konan and Yahiko will be resurrected in that world. Do you believe it? Nagato hesitated. I might believe it. Naoki looked at Nagato who was struggling and smiled softly. Good. You agreed to Eye of the Moon's plan, and then began to collect tailed beasts in the ninja world and start a war. More people died because of you. In the end, the ninja world fell into chaos, and you became the strongest person in the ninja world, a godlike existence. You are going to activate the Eye of the Moon to resurrect Yahiko and Konan. Nagato nodded slightly when he heard this. If nothing unexpected happened, things would indeed develop like this. Before Naoki finished speaking, he saw Nagato nodding in agreement with his statement and smiled softly. Continued. At this time, that person suddenly took control of your body and used the Rinnegan to resurrect Uchiha Madara. All your efforts were in vain in an instant. Everything you did was a wedding dress for Uchiha Madara's plan. Nagato frowned and looked at the rope tree in confusion. But teacher, even if that person is sent to me by Uchiha Madara to monitor me, how can he control me who has the Rinnegan? Naoki pointed at his eyes, smiled and said to Nagato. After the Uchiha clan awakens the Mangekyo Sharingan, they can use an ability called Transfer Seal. The Transfer Seal can seal a spell into the eyes in advance. When activated under specific circumstances, the recipient will not have the slightest ability to detect or resist. If Uchiha Madara writes a resurrection spell in the Rinnegan in advance, he can easily control your body and release for him the power that can resurrect the dead in the Rinnegan. This was the first time Nagato heard about the unreasonable eye technique of transfer sealing, and he fell into silence. It seemed that these eyes brought him great power, but also brought with them even more terrifying disasters. Perhaps, he should destroy these eyes like Kyubi said. After a long time, Nagato made up his mind to ask the teacher to recreate a pair of eyes for him. When I raised my head and saw the smile on the teacher's face, my heart suddenly moved. Teacher, do you have any ideas to prevent the reincarnation eye from being controlled by Uchiha Madara? There was a trace of teasing on Naoshu's face. What? Are you reluctant to give up this powerful power? Nagato blushed, and for the first time he showed a coy expression in front of Nezuki. If possible, I want to use these eyes to better protect Yahiko and Konan, and also play a role in the teacher's process of bringing peace to the ninja world. Naoki nodded appreciatively, stretched out his hand and put it on Nagato's head. Good boy. The teacher said that whether you choose to keep or destroy the Samsara Eye, the teacher will support your decision. No sooner said than done. Nagato looked at the rope tree in surprise, took his hand and asked excitedly, "Teacher, is it true? Can you lift the transfer seal engraved in the Rinnegan of Uchiha Madara?" Naoki shook his head slightly, looked at Nagato who became a little disappointed and said, "Nagato, don't worry. The pupil power of the Samsara Eye is too powerful, and the teacher is still unable to completely solve the backhand left by Uchiha Madara. But you believe the teacher. It won't be long before the teacher's strength improves and he can solve this matter for you. Turn the Samsara Eye completely into your own." When Nagato walked out of the underground secret room, although he still covered his face with his long hair, there was obviously a different relaxed smile on his lips. No wonder. He originally thought that the ninja from the teacher's village had killed his parents. Caught between his feelings for his teacher and his hatred for Konoha, Nagato had been suffering in his heart. It's okay now. What the teacher said back then was indeed correct. His enemy was indeed someone else. Although Nagato has now lost his parents, he has received the care of his two teachers, as well as the company of Yahiko and Konan. Overall, Nagato is very satisfied with his current life. Thinking about it carefully, without realizing it, his fate has been quietly changed a lot by the teacher. Starting from the Kingdom of Rain, Hanzo the Sanshoyu was subdued, thus avoiding conflicts that the three of them might have with the Hidden Rain village when they grew up. Now that he came to Konoha, the teacher made him understand the truth about the death of his parents, as well as the conspiracy of the Samsara Eye and Uchiha Madara. Nagato could feel that the shackles on his fate had slowly loosened their grip on him. He will no longer become the fool who betrays his family and attempts to subvert the ninja world in the future, as the teacher speculated. After learning the truth, Nagato still had some worries about Uchiha Madara staying in the eyes of reincarnation and transferring the seal. But he believes that as long as there are teachers, these problems will always be solved in the future. Naoki had a relatively leisurely life these days. Apart from supervising Yahiko to practice the water escape ninjutsu left by his second grandfather, he also went to the Uchiha clan to find Makoto in the name of visiting his grandma. Jiraiya laughed at his deceptive behavior more than once, and Naoki said disdainfully, "It is natural for me to find my own girlfriend. If you have the ability, just confess to my sister." Jiraiya immediately ran away. A few days passed without realizing it, and finally the day came for the much-anticipated Chunin Joint Selection Examination to begin. The three of Nagato returned to Sancho Hanzo and followed the team from the country of Rain to the examination venue. Jiraiya took Minato and Kushina and sent the two of them into the arena. Tsunade received orders from Sarutobi Hiruzen and selected several medical ninjas from the medical class to guard outside the arena and act as logistics. Naoki also received a special task from Mr. Orochimaru and went to the arena to help. A large open space was cleared in Konoha's first alert area to serve as a competition venue. A circle of tall stands and walls were built around the venue. The stands are raised layer by layer from bottom to top. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood at the highest stand and nodded slightly to the representatives of various countries around him. His eyes glanced around the noisy venue, and he randomly blessed himself with a wind ninjutsu. His calm and powerful voice immediately suppressed the noise around the arena. "Please be quiet." The surrounding spectators and the genin on the field heard the sound and all looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, with a warm smile on his face. "Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedule to watch and participate in this joint Chunin selection examination held by Konoha. I am the third Hokage of Konoha, and I represent Konoha here. Welcome everyone." The Konoha residents in the field immediately burst into warm cheers and applause, and the audiences and ninjas from other countries also clapped their hands symbolically. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the excited crowd and nodded happily. This joint Chunin selection was originally scheduled to be held in 2 games. The first comprehensive quality assessment, and the second practical assessment. But due to some unexpected factors, several daimyos discussed it and decided to change the assessment to 1. Cancel the comprehensive quality assessment in the first game and proceed directly to the actual combat assessment in the second game. There was a burst of whispers all around, seeming to be a little surprised by this temporary decision. Although the representatives of several major countries already knew the result, they still couldn't help but sneered in their hearts. Dodai and Ebizo snorted coldly, looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen with mockery. Now, The examiner of this Chunin selection, White Fang Hitaki Sakumoji, known as Konoha, will read out the rules of this Chunin exam to everyone. Perhaps considering that more than just people from Konoha were present, the rhetoric used to promote the will of fire was not suitable for today's occasion. Sarutobi Hiruzen's speech this time was simple and clear. Most of the spectators who came to watch the competition were familiar with well-known ninjas from various countries. Naturally, they had heard of the name Konoha White Fang. When they heard that the examiner this time was actually him, they immediately let out an uncontrollable exclamation. Konoha White Fang. I didn't expect that during this Chunin exam, I would be able to meet the legendary White Fang of Konoha. It's really a worthwhile trip. Ebizo looked at the white-haired heroic man slowly walking to the center of the arena with a gloomy expression, a trace of murderous intent flashing in his eyes. Onoki floated in front of the seat, looking at Hitaki Sakumo, who was gradually exuding a fierce aura, and showed a somewhat jealous look at Sarutobi Hiruzen. He looked away with some regret, turned to Sarutobi Hiruzen and said with a faint smile. Hokage is really generous. Konoha is really full of talents. Strong men of this strength are used as referees. They are worthy of being the first of the 5 major countries. Everyone present could not help but twitch their faces when they heard Onoki's strange words. Sarutobi Hiruzen showed an indifferent attitude. After delivering his speech, he nodded calmly to everyone and sat back in his seat. Hearing Onoki's compliment, a fake smile appeared on his face. Your Majesty, the Tsuchikage praised me. There is really no one available in Konoha, so we can only ask the somewhat famous Sakumo to help support the scene. On the contrary, the Earth Kingdom generation has produced many young geniuses. Tsuchikage Dono is indeed a senior figure, and his ability to teach the next generation is truly remarkable. There is a successor to Iwagakure village. The 2 big guys were facing each other tit for tat in the stands. The representatives nearby were not from their respective villages. They couldn't get a word in for a while and sat quietly eating melon. Is this the way of communication between the top leaders of the 5 great ninja villages? What an insight. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Onoki looked at each other and showed a tacit smile. At the same time, I cursed secretly in my heart, old fox. All the candidates on the field now are at a young, energetic and arrogant age. Seeing that the man known as Konoha White Fang was just an ordinary man, he couldn't help but feel a bit of contempt in his heart. Dashi, who is good at illusions, quietly used his senses to explore, and felt that White Fang's chakra amount was not outstanding among the strong men he had seen. He quietly muttered to the firelight and leeches around him. Is this Konoha White Fang? It looks very ordinary. The amount of chakra is too small, right? Demon Leech did not look down on Hitaki Sakumo, who was able to become famous in the ninja world. Hearing Oishi's words, he shook his head slightly. Don't underestimate this person. Did you see that short knife behind him? It is said that he was named Konoha White Fang because he used this sword to kill someone on the battlefield of the Kingdom of Wind. Such strong men who are good at swordsmanship and knife skills cannot measure their strength by the amount of chakra. You chakraduo, if I give you a knife and you die, what's the use? Dashi nodded thoughtfully. As a master of swordsmanship, Hitaki Sakumo has such a keen sense of gaze. He immediately turned his head slightly and focused his gaze on Dashi and Demon Leech, who were just talking about him. Without even a trace of chakra being mobilized, a pure killing intent slowly rose from Hitaki Sakumo, oppressing the group of genin standing in front of him. These rookies who have never been on the battlefield have never seen this kind of killing intent condensed from the mountain of corpses and sea of blood. Some genin with poor psychological quality seemed to have countless bloody illusions before their eyes. Fear suddenly surged into their hearts, and their bodies began to tremble uncontrollably. Hitaki Sakumo's goal of establishing his power has been achieved, and it can be regarded as completing the Hokage-sama's instructions. Slowly withdrawing his aura, Hitaki Sakumo showed an apologetic look to the frightened genin. Sorry, as your examiner, it is my task to make you listen quietly and carefully to the rules of the competition. I will read out the rules of this Chunin exam now. I hope you can listen carefully to the end. The genin looked at the serious-looking Hitaki Sakumo and nodded silently. In a viewing area specially provided for ninja school students, an Uchiha boy wearing goggles looked at the majestic Hitaki Sakumo. He grabbed the arm of his companion next to him and let out an excited shout. Kakashi, have you seen those stinky guys? Sakumo-sama didn't even move his hands, he just looked at them and frightened them. Lord White Fang is indeed my idol, he is so cool. When I open my Sharingan in the future, I will be like Lord White Fang, able to kill the enemy with just one look. Lin, do you think I can become as strong as Lord White Fang? The little girl sitting next to him narrowed her eyes and smiled. Yeah, I believe Obito. You can definitely become a strong man like Lord White Fang, keep working hard. Uchiha Obito rubbed the back of his head and smiled sheepishly. Kakashi rolled his eyes at him and said softly, idiot. He turned to look at his father standing in the field, his eyes full of admiration and yearning. Hitaki Sakumo took out a scroll from his arms and slowly unfolded it in his hand. The rules for this joint Chunin selection are as follows. 1. This assessment is an elimination system. In the form of drawing lots, 2 ninjas are randomly selected to fight each time. The winner advances, the loser is eliminated. 2. In this assessment, all ninja methods can be used except for detonating talismans, including ninjutsu, taijutsu, illusions, psychic techniques and various ninja tools. 3. In this assessment, the 2 sides will compete. The winner will be determined by the examiner if one side loses the ability to fight or voluntarily admits defeat. After one party admits defeat, the other party may not attack again for any reason, otherwise it will be a loss. 4. In this assessment, each battle lasts 10 minutes. If there is no winner within 10 minutes, the 2 sides will be considered a tie and eliminated. 5. After Hitaki Sakumo read out the rules, he put away the scroll and scanned the candidates. The above are all the rules for this assessment. If you have any objections, you can keep them. I wish you all can achieve excellent results and successfully advance to Chunin under the spotlight. Naoki held a large transparent box and came to Hitaki Sakumo with a wink. Brother Sakumo, this is the list of candidates. Sakumo looked at the rope tree in a funny way and shook his head. He didn't expect this little guy to sneak into the field. Why did you come here? Naoshu chuckled. Isn't this arranged by Orochimaru-sensei? You want me to come and see the world? Sakumo helplessly patted Natsuki on the shoulder and joked. Do you still need to come here to see the world for your strength? I'm afraid Orochimaru is worried that something will go wrong with me and asked you to come and tell me the truth, right? Of course Naoki couldn't admit it and handed the box to Sakumo. What nonsense are you talking about? Brother Sakumo, let's draw lots. There are so many people waiting on the stage. Sakumo nodded, reached out from the box and took out 2 small white wax-sealed balls with the candidates' names on them. He raised the 2 small balls in his hands and gestured in the field, proving that there was no suspicion of secret operations. People in the surrounding stands can see it clearly. The box is transparent and the list is sealed in a small ball of the same size. It is indeed impossible to falsify it. Seeing that no one questioned it, Sakumo gently rubbed his hands to remove the wax seal on the surface of the ball, and took out 2 pieces of paper. The first game, Xiaonan of Yuyan Village vs. Summer of Star Shadow Village. Other candidates, please return to the viewing platform. Xiaonan didn't expect that she would be the first one to play, and she suddenly felt a little nervous. Nagato and Yahiko cheered Conan on for a while, then followed the crowd back to the viewing platform specially provided for the contestants. Naoki followed Sakumo to the edge of the field with the box in his arms, and gave Xiaonan an encouraging look. Xiaonan's anxious mood finally recovered, and he gave the teacher a sweet smile. He turned to look at the dark red-haired girl standing opposite, with a serious face and a sign of opposition. Xiaonan of Yuyan Village, please give me some advice. Summer in Star Shadow Village. Sha Tian did not underestimate Xiaonan, who was also a girl. She also formed a seal of opposition and was ready to fight. The surrounding audience saw the first competition between 2 cute girls and started talking excitedly. It's 2 little girls. They are all so beautiful, the fight will be exciting later. Yeah, I'm more optimistic about the little girl with purple hair. I heard that she came with the famous ninja demigod, so she should have certain strength. That's hard to say. I'm more optimistic about the girl from Xingyang Village. Although I have never heard of this village, this girl is older and may be stronger. Ignore the comments from people outside the venue. Sha Tian looked at Conan, who was dressed in plain clothes. She didn't even have the ninja bag that a ninja always has on her body. You don't even use ninja tools. Are you a special secret ninja? HMPH. But I'm not bad either. Let's see whose secret technique is stronger. Sha Tian made a secret judgment in her heart, and no longer hesitated. She took out a kunai from her ninja tool bag and rushed toward Conan, while at the same time shooting a slender senbon with cold light at Conan. Xiaonan didn't panic when faced with Sha Tian's attack, and quickly formed several seals with her little hands. Paper shield. Pieces of white paper flew out from the cuffs of his hands, forming a layered paper shield in front of him. The sharp senbon hit the shield, making a crisp sound like rain hitting banana trees, and was easily blocked by the paper shield. Xiaonan stretched out her hand a little, and the paper shield in front of her instantly disintegrated into pieces of white paper, and the thousands of books stuck on it fell to the ground. Layers of white paper folded quickly and automatically in the air, turning into countless paper shurikens. Conan waved his hand, and the paper shuriken quickly spun in the air, making a sharp sound of breaking the wind, and flew towards Sha Tian. Sha Tian didn't expect that the thin paper could play so many tricks in Xiao Nan's hands, and couldn't help but be secretly surprised. Seeing the paper shuriken flying towards him, Sha Tian crossed his hands, forming a strange hand seal. Peacock's magical technique, Hitomi. As the handprints were formed, stars rose in Sha Tian's eyes. The chakra traces contained in the paper shurikens shot by Conan were clearly reflected in Sha Tian's eyes. Natsuhi showed a confident smile, and in a blink of an eye, she easily knocked down all the paper shurikens with her kunai. Conan looked at the downed paper shuriken, and a regretful thought suddenly came to his mind. What a pity. You can't use detonating charms in this game. The uninformed Hitaki Sakumo, and Natsuhi surrounded by countless scattered pieces of paper. Paper release paper gun. The snowflake-like pieces of paper formed a sharp spear in front of Xiao Nan, spinning and shooting out at high speed. Xiaonan moved her fingers lightly, and the broken paper shurikens scattered behind Sha Tian slowly unfolded and turned into flying paper butterflies, quietly hovering in the air. Paper release fengchuishui. Looking at the huge size of the paper gun, Sha Tian knew that he couldn't hit it forcefully, so he was about to dodge to avoid it. The paper butterflies flying behind her suddenly made a flapping sound, like sharp blades, quickly surrounding her body. There is a paper gun in front and a sword array in the back. Sha Tian was shocked and had no choice but to resort to pressure to get out of the predicament. Peacock magic. Wings. Starlight quickly surged out of Sha Tian's body, forming 3 pairs of starlight wings on her back that resembled peacock tail feathers. The wings flapped slightly. Sha Tian put his feet down, and flew into the sky. Everyone watching was in an uproar. Look! That girl from Star Shadow Village has grown wings. She can actually fly. Is this the power of a ninja? The little girl with purple hair is in danger now. Xiao Nan looked down at her small body, and then looked up at the summer sky flying in the sky, her eyes shining with envy. She is so beautiful. She looks like a peacock with its tail spread. Summer is flying in the sky, but at this moment my heart is not happy. It was obviously a method saved until the end to keep the bottom of the box, but he encountered a dangerous situation in the first game and had to use it in advance. Although I feel a little pity, since it has been exposed, let's use the peacock method to win this battle. Peacock's magic trick, imitate the beast. Sha Tian made a seal in his hand, and a big bird made of condensed starlight screamed and crashed into Xiao Nan on the ground from the air. Xiao Nan looked at the flying starlight bird, and she was dazzled by the little starlight brought up by the waving wings. Fortunately, she still knew that this was a competition field, so she quickly put back her desire and began to form seals with focused eyes. Paper shield. Paper release dance of butterflies. The huge paper shield reopened and protected Xiao Nan, blocking the flying bird. The countless paper butterflies that had failed just now spun and turned into a huge paper shuriken tornado, flying into the summer sky. Sha Tian flapped his wings lightly and moved away from the center of the tornado. Forming another seal in his hand, various animal shapes formed by starlight continued to pounce on Xiao Nan. Xiaonan suddenly had no choice but to hold on to the paper escape, struggling to hold on to the left and the right, so embarrassed. After persisting for a while, Xiaonan saw that there was really no hope of winning, so she raised her hand from behind the paper shield with a sad face. Senior Natsuhi. I surrender. Flying in the sky with the peacock technique for a long time consumes a lot of Natsuhi's chakra, and Natsuhi's face looks a little pale at the moment. Seeing Xiao Nan admit defeat, Sha simply put away the peacock magic and landed lightly on the ground. Sakumo looked at the two girls who performed far better than ordinary genin, with a smile on his face. Yeah. You are all very good. Little girl, it doesn't matter if you lose, keep working hard next time. Sakumo encouraged Konan, walked up to Natsuhi, and nodded to her. This competition is over. Xiaonan of Yuyin Village admits defeat. Winner, Star Shadow Village Summer. The crying Xiaonan returned to the audience as a loser and lost the qualification to stay on the court and participate in the game. Naoshu saw that Xiaonan's mood seemed a little wrong, and was worried about the young disciple's psychological problems. Then he separated a shadow clone, stuffed the box in his arms into the clone, and quietly slipped to Xiaonan's side. Girl, if you lose, you lose. Just win it back later. You are still young, so you have many opportunities. Xiaonan raised her head with tears in her eyes and saw that the teacher was comforting her, and couldn't help but feel sad. He grabbed Naoshu's hand and said with great emotion. Teacher, did you see it? That summer was so beautiful. She could actually fly. I really want to grow wings and fly like her. Woo. Shungshu's words of comfort and encouragement suddenly got stuck in his throat, and he couldn't spit them out or swallow them. His expression changed for a while, and he finally understood Xiaonan's brain circuit. Xiaonan, so you're not sad because you lost the game. It turns out you are greedy for other people's wings. Xiaonan nodded repeatedly, looking at Sha Tian who was sitting in the winner's seat from time to time, his eyes full of envy. Naoshu gently tapped Xiaonan's head, pointed at Sha Tian and said. Xiaonan, the power of peacock magic is indeed very versatile. It even has a great advantage when facing enemies that cannot fly. But this kind of power was obtained by Xingyang village at a great price with the help of something called a star. And this price is the future and lives of their entire village of ninjas. Xiaonan's envious expression suddenly froze, and she looked at the rope tree in astonishment. Teacher, is this true? You said that Summer, because of this power, she would. Naoshu nodded. She is still young now and has not been too deeply affected by the power of the star. She should not die so soon. But it's only a matter of time. Besides, ninjas always die. Seeing that Xiao Nan's mood dropped again because of the news, Naoshu couldn't help but rub her hair. Xiaonan, don't you want to fly? Actually, if you develop your own paper escape secret technique properly, there is no chance that it will fly. After all, it was because of flying that Xiaonan could never forget the magic of peacocks in the summer. When the teacher said that she could fly, she immediately became energetic. Teacher, can I also use paper escape to fly? Naoshu nodded affirmatively. Certainly. She can be a peacock flying in the sky, and you. I will definitely become an angel descending on the world. Xiaonan's eyes became longing again, and she murmured. Angel. After the opening showdown between the two beautiful girls, the enthusiasm of the audience was aroused. The next few battles are either confrontations between ordinary genin, or geniuses crushing ordinary genin. Although these games are not like the battle between Konan and Sha Tian, there are all kinds of novel ninjutsu. However, the danger of hand-to-hand combat between genin also made the audience tremble with fear and couldn't help but enjoy it. Among the ninja villages participating in the selection this time, in addition to the 4 well-known ninja villages in the ninja world and Sancho Hanzo's Omegakure village, there are also some lesser-known ninja villages. For example, the Hoshikage village of the Bear Country, the Takigakure village that lived in a hidden corner and was once distributed the Nanao by the first Hokage, the Kusakakure village that was caught between the ninja villages and became a battlefield every time, etc. The genin sent by these large and small villages to participate in the selection ranged from as many as 6 to as few as 3. Including Konoha's Inakacho, Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina and others, there were almost 20 people. After several rounds of selection, the winner sat in the winner's seat, the eliminated contestants returned to the audience, and there were only a few ninjas waiting. Hitaki Sakumo took out 2 small balls from the box again and opened the wax seal. He looked at the two names on the note and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. His eyes wandered around the remaining contestants, and he spoke loudly. Next game. Konoha Village Namikaze Minato, fight. Konoha Village. Uzumaki Kushina. When Minato heard his name, he subconsciously looked at Kushina, but he didn't expect to hit her. Kushina smiled evilly, gestured her fist at Minato, and strode to the center of the field. Minato smiled bitterly and scratched his head, then walked off the field and stood opposite Kushina. Jiraiya, who was sitting bored in the audience, saw Minato's exit, his eyes lit up and he stood up. Ignoring the surprised looks from the people around him, he put his hands into trumpets and put them to his mouth, shouting at Minato. Minato, come on. The surrounding audience immediately started talking. Isn't this Lord Jiraiya, the Sannin of Konoha? What is the relationship between Minato Namikaze and him? Is he a disciple of the Sannin? I think it's very possible. Otherwise, why don't you see Jiraiya-sama cheering for other players? Then this game is worth watching. I'm afraid that little red-haired girl is in danger. When Minato heard Jiraiya's voice cheering, he smiled awkwardly at Kushina. Hee. Kushina, I didn't expect to meet you here. Kushina snorted. HMPH. Stop talking nonsense. I've long wanted to see you from that. What did you learn from the pervert who harassed Sister Tsunade all day long? Come on. Let's have a good fight. Minato glanced in Jiraiya's direction with a guilty conscience, turned to Kushina and said. Jiraiya-sensei does sometimes feel a little, yeah. Some. But don't worry. I won't learn that from Jiraiya-sensei. Kushina blushed and spat at him. Bah. Who cares about you? I'm going to do it. You have to be careful, don't get punched to death by me. Minato nodded seriously. Good. Although I may not be your opponent now, I will try my best. Tsukumo coughed immediately when he saw these two familiar little guys communicating like this. Cough. Players from both sides are ready. Start. When Kushina heard the order, she didn't even bother to close the seal of opposition. With a squeak, he exerted force on his feet, and punched Minato in the chest with a small fist wrapped in chakra. Minato knew that Kushina had learned some skills in using power from Tsunade-senpai, so he naturally did not dare to take Kushina's punch hard. He quickly formed seals with his hands, and the wind-escape chakra surged from his feet, and his body instantly became a little lighter. With a sway of her body, the dazzling blonde figure turned into a stream of light, instantly dodged Kushina's strange punch and appeared behind her. Wind release fire wind palm. While Minato used wind release, he shook his hands and threw two shurikens. The shuriken was propelled by the strong wind, spinning at high speed and shooting towards Kushina's back. Kushina knew that she was not as agile as Minato and might not be as fast as Minato, so she had long been prepared for Minato's attack from behind. Stopping his body's forward movement, he quickly spun around on the spot as if there were eyes behind him, grabbing the incoming shuriken in his hand. As the strong wind blowing from the shuriken blew up the smoke and dust on the ground, Kushina narrowed her eyes slightly, and her body swayed slightly due to the wind. Chance. Minato's eyes lit up, and he quickly summoned his shadow clone, and together with the main body, he quickly rushed towards Kushina, who was standing unsteadily. Kushina heard the footsteps approaching quickly, and the corners of her mouth curved. Humph. Do you think I don't know where you are because my view is blocked? You underestimate me. He crushed the shuriken into pieces with force in his hand. With a flick of his wrist based on his perception, the shuriken fragments turned into little bits of cold light and shot in the direction of Minato. Minato's expression changed, he had a new understanding of Kushina's power, and his main body quickly hid behind the shadow clone. There was a bang, and the shadow clone was shot into a sieve and turned into a cloud of smoke. Rolling on the ground, Minato dodged the incoming shuriken fragments and quickly formed a seal in his hand under the cover of the smoke. He exerted force under his feet and jumped out of the smoke in an instant. Minato quickly came to Kushina, reached out and drew the kunai in his hand towards Kushina's throat. Kushina opened her eyes, looked at the attacking kunai, and stamped her feet hard on the ground. Boom. Centered on where Kushina was standing, a large pit with a radius of 2 meters suddenly appeared on the ground. Dense cracks spread from Kushina's feet. Minato became unsteady and the kunai in his hand suddenly moved to one side. Kushina bared her teeth at Minato and showed a malicious smile. He quickly raised his calf and kicked Minato's chest. Unable to escape, Minato's expression suddenly changed, and the kunai in his hand was thrown towards Kushina, as if he had made a final resistance. Kushina tilted her head and easily dodged the light kunai. He used his foot force and kicked Minato hard in the chest. Bang! After receiving such a heavy blow to the chest, Minato's face suddenly twisted. With a bang, his body turned into a kunai and was kicked away by Kushina. Kushina was stunned when she saw Minato turned into a kunai after being kicked away. The nine tails in the seal couldn't stand it anymore, and it let out an angry roar in Kushina's mental space. What an embarrassment to me. You stupid girl. Can't you even see the transformation technique? Where's your perception? Kushina suddenly realized and turned around quickly. The kunai that Kushina had dodged instantly turned into Minato's appearance, and the chakra in his hand quickly condensed a Rasengan and shot it towards Kushina's body. Minato did remember what Nusuke Senpai said. When using the Rasengan on one of your own, you must control the power to avoid really hurting your companions. The obedient Minato followed the rope tree's teachings, carefully restrained the power of the Rasengan, and then. Son of a fool. You actually hit me with the ninjutsu my brother taught you. You're finished. Four symbols seal. Kushina looked at the blue chakra ball in Minato's hand, and her red hair suddenly started flying wildly. With a loud shout, he opened Minato's right hand holding the Rasengan with a punch of his left hand. A ball of chakra emerged from each of the four fingertips of his right hand and pressed it on Minato's body. Minato's body froze, and the little chakra left in his body suddenly fell into deathly silence under the influence of the four elephant seals. The stiff body was knocked away by Kushina's punch and fell to the ground with a thud. Kushina rushed to Minato's side with a single stride, and the one who sat on his body was beating him wildly. Knock you out. Let's see if you still dare. Jiraiya in the stands immediately covered his face, unable to bear to watch anymore. It's over. Sure enough, none of the girls who are with Tsunade are easy to mess with. Minato, I have seen your future. Tsukumo, who was standing on the field, twitched the corner of his mouth twice, and quickly stepped forward to stop the assailant Kushina. Kushina, if you keep fighting, I will judge Namikaze Minato to win this round. Kushina's attacks were quite measured, she just punched to the flesh. After hearing Hitachi Tsukumo's reminder and looking at Minato who was bruised and swollen, he clapped his hands with satisfaction and stood up from Minato. Snort. I'll let you go this time. Let's see if you dare to hit me with a Rasengan in the future. Minato also knew that it was a bit reckless to attack Kushina with the Rasengan just now, no wonder she was so angry. The eyes that could still move turned to Kushina with an apologetic look. Kushina finally calmed down, bent down and patted Minato, releasing the sealing technique, and took Minato's hand and pulled him up from the ground. Minato held Kushina's soft little hand and suddenly felt that the place where he had been beaten was less painful. It's just some superficial injuries. I'll go to Tsunade for treatment later. I'll recover soon. Tsukumo looked at Minato's injuries and gave him a gentle warning. Thank you Tsukumo-sama. Minato held Kushina's hand and was reluctant to let go, touching his head with his left hand and smirking at Tsukumo. Tsukumo shook his head and ignored this silly boy. In this assessment, Namikaze Minato has lost his combat effectiveness. Winner, Uzumaki Kushina. A few cheers rang out sporadically on the field, and more spectators pointed at Minato and Kushina and whispered. Huh. I said, there is something wrong with these two little ninjas, right? Did you see it too? Yeah. I think it's the same as flirting. That little girl was so strong that she didn't even beat him up, tisk tisk. You don't care. Maybe this is the mood of two young lovers. It looks quite interesting, haha. Haha, that's true. The earthen stand in the stands looked at the victorious Kushina, with a gleam in his eyes. Is this red-haired girl named Uzumaki? The technique that made that boy unable to move just now must be the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan, right? HMPH. It's so easy to find Uzumaki clan members who know the sealing technique. It seems that this mission should be completed easily. Hitachi Tsukumo reached out from the box and took out the last two wax pills containing the list, and looked at the two teenagers wearing Omegakure forehead protectors on the field. The last scene, Yahiko Omegakure. To the chief of Egakure village. Invite both players to come forward. Yahiko glanced at Nagato and stopped him from entering. He gently held Nagato's shoulders and raised his right hand high. Lord White Fang, this one. I surrender. Sakumo looked at Yahiko who had given up and said. This joint Chunin selection is a rare opportunity for you, an opportunity to show your talents and abilities in front of so many people. Yahiko, a player from a Megakure village, as the examiner of this match, I need to confirm your thoughts. Are you sure you want to give up this competition? Yahiko let go of Nagato's hand and nodded seriously to Hitaki Sakumo. Yes. Lord White Fang. I'm definitely giving up. Nagato is stronger than me, and I hope to leave more opportunities to him. As for me, seeing him go further, I'm very satisfied. Sakumo showed a hint of appreciation in his eyes, smiled and nodded to Yahiko. Good. As a ninja, it's a bit inappropriate to say that. But I hope you can always maintain this attitude towards your companions. I wish you all the best to go further in the future together. Yahiko and Nagato looked at each other and smiled. Then I declare. In this battle, Yahiko Megakure takes the initiative to admit defeat. The winner is the mayor of Yuyin village. Sakumo watched Yahiko and Nagato leave the field, and said loudly to the audience in the stands. Today's assessment ends here. The promotion assessment for the winner group will be held here tomorrow. Please don't make any noise and leave in an orderly manner under the arrangements of the guarding ninjas. The spectators in the stands looked unfinished, discussing today's battle in low voices with their companions, and slowly left the arena along the passage left by the Konoha guards. Sarutobi Hiruzen stood up and smiled at the representatives sitting around him. Everyone, it's getting late. How about we have a casual dinner together and discuss the arrangements for tomorrow's game? Onoki floated up from his seat and glanced sideways at Sarutobi Hiruzen. There's no need to eat. Our little guys from Iwagakure were defeated by your Konoha genin today. I'm afraid they won't be able to get over it, so I'd better go back and take a look. If you have any plans for tomorrow, just send someone to inform me. After saying that, without waiting for anyone else's reaction, he turned around and flew away. Sanshoyu Hanzo also stood up, wearing a gas mask and making a low sound. Hokage Dono, I have a large amount of Sanshotoxin in my body. I am not suitable to dine with other people, so I will not participate. Take the first step. Seeing that the third Tsuchikage and the ninja world's demigods had left one after another, the others also found various reasons to decline Hiruzen Sarutobi's invitation and dispersed. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the people leaving, but he did not show any disappointment. Thinking of the battle where Minato lost to Kushina, Sarutobi Hiruzen showed a satisfied smile on his face. It's good to lose. Off the field, Minato covered his face and came to Naoki, hoping that Naoki could help treat him. Naoki saw that the injuries on Minato's face were just some bruises, and he didn't even bother to treat him. He glanced at Minato sideways and said, Minato, I saw it at that moment. You actually used the Rasengan on Kushina, tisk tisk. I'm teaching you the Rasengan so that you can help me protect Kushina in the future. Look at you. You look like this, it's hard for me to leave my sister to you. You deserve this beating. I won't treat this injury for you, so get out of here. Minato lowered his head and was pulled by the blushing Kushina to look for Tsunade. Jiraiya, who was following him, chuckled twice and moved closer to the rope tree. The rope tree. How does brother Jiraiya treat you? Jiraiya put his hand on Naoki's shoulder and asked with a sly smile. Shengshu glanced at him sideways and snorted. Yeah, that's it. Jiraiya stretched out his hand and grabbed it in front of the rope tree, making a gesture of pushing it out. Look, can you teach me your Rasengan move? It doesn't matter if that girl Makoto knows how to use it, now even Minato can do it. Isn't it unreasonable that you don't teach me? Naoki slapped Jiraiya's hand away and walked towards the Senju clan. Want to learn? Jiraiya nodded repeatedly. Whenever you catch up with my sister, I will give this trick to you as my sister's dowry. Jiraiya. The land of the Thousand Hands clan. Teacher. Yahiko and the others quietly came to the Senju tribe and saw the rope tree. Well, you are here. Yahiko performed well today, he looked like a big brother. When Yahiko heard the teacher's compliment, he smiled and touched his head. Hee. I can't beat Nagato either. If it were anyone else, I would definitely have to give him a good fight. Let them see how powerful the water escape can be. Nagato looked up at Nomura, his eyes hesitant. Nagato, what's wrong? Teacher, there will be an assessment tomorrow. If I encounter an opponent that cannot be defeated by ordinary ninjutsu, can I use the power of the Rinnegan? Naoki touched Nagato's head with a smile on his face. Can use. In the entire ninja world, there are only a few people who have heard of the existence of the Samsara Eye, let alone seen it. Although the power of the Samsara Eye is very miraculous, in the eyes of most people, it is just a special secret technique. And, Naoki paused and looked at Nagato, who breathed a sigh of relief. Teacher, and what? Nagato asked with some doubts after hearing half of Natsuki's words. And the teacher wants to use your reincarnation eye to lure out some mice hiding in the dark. Whether those rats know what the Samsara Eye is or not, as long as it's power, they will be interested. There was a hint of worry on Xiaonan's face. Teacher, if Nagato's eyes are known to too many people, will there be any danger? Yahiko also looked at Naoki with worried eyes. Naoshu shook his head slightly. Do not worry. Those guys are so eager to get all the good stuff in their hands, how could they let other people know about it? And the teacher will protect Nagato and won't let him get hurt. Konan and Yahiko couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief when their teacher said this. Nagato never expressed any opinions. He just nodded slightly after hearing Naoki's words, which was regarded as acquiescing to the teacher's idea. Naoki looked into Nagato's eyes, but his thoughts drifted to other places. Danzo, when you know the existence of the Rinnegan, will you contact Sancho Hanzo and attack Nagato like in the plot? I'm looking forward to it. The residents of Kumogakure team. Dodai secretly summoned several of his subordinates who had entered Konoha through other channels and came to his residence. Looking at the several Chunin who had gathered, Dodai showed a serious expression on his face. Everyone. Lord Raikage gave me an order before leaving. In order to ensure that the seal of the Eight Tails Jinchuriki will not be in danger, Master Raikage asked us to find a stronger sealing technique, or a ninja who is good at sealing techniques. As we all know, the Uzumaki clan who are good at sealing techniques have been exterminated, and those sealing techniques have been brought to Konoha. The purpose of bringing you here this time, besides protecting the young ninjas of the village, is to come to Konoha to find a sealing technique that can strengthen the Eight Tails seal. Although the location of the sealing technique has not been found yet, I found a Konoha ninja who is suspected to be good at sealing technique in the arena today. And her last name is Uzumaki. This is her portrait. Dodai took out a picture of Uzumaki Kushina's appearance from his arms and passed it to several Chunin under his command, asking them to remember Kushina's appearance. Although this orphan of the Uzumaki clan has some strength, he is only a little more powerful than ordinary genin. Find an opportunity to bring her back to Union Village. Several subordinates remembered Kushina's appearance in their hearts and nodded together. Yes. Lord Todai. Everything is for Union Village. Lord Danzo. Those genin from Union Village quietly went to the Senju clan again. A root ninja came to Danzo and reported to him some information about what happened today. Danzo opened his one eye, a sneer appearing on his face. Snort. Ignore it. It seems that those brats are the disciples that Jiraiya has been teaching in the Hidden Rain village these past few years. Jiraiya is really just like Hiruzen, indecisive and unable to achieve success. Danzo mocked and asked his subordinate genin. Did any particularly noteworthy ninjas appear in today's assessment? When Gen Ren heard the inquiry, he did not dare to neglect and told the information collected today one by one. Of the 3 genin in the Hidden Rain village, 2 of them did not take action today. Therefore, no useful information was collected. The girl named Xiao Nan used a special paper escape technique, which is a little different. There is also a ninja from Hoshikage village who can use a ninjutsu called Peacock Mystic Technique. He can grow wings on his back and fight in the air. Danzo nodded with an interested look on his face. Yeah, these 2 secret techniques are quite interesting. Continue to observe tomorrow. If these secret techniques don't have any major side effects, we will find a way to get them. The roots need to absorb all the power that can strengthen themselves. Danzo knocked on the armrest and suddenly said to genin. You go down first. Call Biliuhu over, I want to ask him something. Yes. It was the second day of the joint Chunin selection. The surging undercurrent in Konoha did not have much impact on these genin who needed to continue taking assessments. After a night's rest, the ninjas leading the teams from various countries analyzed the intelligence on other players collected during the day. The contestants who won on the first day kept in mind the advantages and disadvantages of all the opponents they might encounter, and came to the assessment site again with full confidence. Hitaki Tsukumo came to the center of the field and stood still. He glanced at the players and without any nonsense, he reached out from the box and took out 2 small balls containing the rosters. The Chunin selection examination continues. Name of Kumogakure versus the Fire of Iwagakure. 2 contestants please enter. When Huogong heard his name, he jumped into the arena and looked at the camp from Union Village with a provocative expression. Namai stood up from his seat and walked slowly to the opposite side of the boulder. Namai of Union Village, please give me some advice. Huo Guang grinned, revealing his white teeth. Iwagakure Village Fire. Seeing that the 2 of them were ready, Hitaki Tsukumo waved his hand. Game start. Flash back to the edge of the arena. After the 2 formed the seal of opposition, Huo Guang seemed a little impatient, and his body immediately took action. Earth release. Hardening. The fire light hardened the 2 arms with earth escape, and they knocked each other in front of the body, triggering the mechanism at the wrist. Click. With 2 soft sounds, 2 sharp handleless daggers popped out of the cuffs and stuck firmly on the back of Huogong's hand. Huogong waved his arms, put force on his feet, and rushed towards Namai at top speed. Namai curled his lips and pulled out a long knife from his back, pouring chakra into the blade. HMPH. How naive you are to use earth escape and sword skills in front of me. With disdain in his heart, the long sword in Namai's hand flashed with electric arc, and he slashed towards the incoming fire. Huogong's left arm held the long knife with a short blade, and swung his right hand fiercely towards Namai's abdomen. Namai's lower abdomen was slightly tightened, a cold light appeared in her eyes, and she secretly said, "Court death." Pressing down hard with both hands, the blade suddenly exploded with lightning. The arm wrapped in fire and earth escape felt numb for a while under the influence of thunder escape. The earthy yellow light emitted by the hardening technique on the arm suddenly became bright and dim. Namai swung the knife and opened the short blade that was slashing towards his lower abdomen. He turned the blade and lifted it towards Huo Guang's chest from bottom to top. The fire rolled over and avoided Namai's pursuit. Knowing that his earth escape was restrained, he could not forcefully accept Mai's attack. Huo Guang resisted the numbness on his arms and quickly formed a few hand seals. Earth release Iwagakure Jutsu. Chakra poured into the ground, turning the nearby land into rock, and the flaming figure instantly disappeared into the ground. Namai's expression tightened, and he held the long knife in his hand in front of him. He stepped a little closer and jumped away from where he was. Earth release, the art of reflecting fish in the earth. Huogong quietly used a detection ninjutsu underground to observe Namai's movements through the soil. Namai looked at the ground around him warily. Without the ability to sense ninjutsu, he could only avoid sneak attacks that might appear at any time by constantly moving his position. The high concentration of spirit, coupled with maintaining the lightning escape on the long sword, caused Namai's spirit and chakra to slowly flow away. No. Can't sit still and wait for death. If this guy keeps hiding underground, my chakra will be exhausted soon. We must find a way to force him out of the ground. The spectators in the stands nervously watched Namai, who was constantly moving around on the field, and also helped to search on the ground, as if they wanted to help find traces of the fire. Huo Guang, who is lurking underground, is actually the old god at the moment. He is good at sneak attacks and assassinations. He may not be Namai's opponent in frontal combat, but if he is more patient, There was a sneer on Huo Guang's face, looking at Namai who kept moving. Snort. I don't believe that your chakra can be maintained forever. There will always be times when your spirit becomes slack. Hey. Namai is indeed in a dilemma at this time, although Lei Dun has a natural attribute restraint against Earth Dun. But the other party didn't fight directly with him at all, so he couldn't display his strength at all. Namai felt very regretful. If he had known that the opponent was so slippery, he should have gone all out from the beginning. If he had defeated him with Lan Dun, he would not have been in such a passive situation now. Time passed slowly, and Namai's anxiety gradually made it difficult to concentrate. The chakra in his body had been consumed until only half was left, and he knew that he could not delay it any longer. He stopped and quickly formed a seal in his hand, and black thunder and lightning appeared in his palm. Landun black spot cha. Namai gave a soft drink and thrust the long knife in his hand suddenly. The black thunder escape quickly spread from the position where it was inserted into the ground to the surroundings, forming a huge black thunder net. Ah! With a scream, Huo Guang trembled and exposed half of his body from the ground. Namai's eyes lit up, and he swung the long knife in his hand, slashing towards the fire with an indomitable momentum. Got you. Go to hell, you hidden rat. Huo Guang's whole body was paralyzed by Landun, and he saw Namai's long knife slashing at him. He reluctantly raised his arms and crossed the short blade above his body, trying to block the attack. Stab it! With a look of horror on his face, Huo Guang's body was immediately torn apart by Namai's long knife. The sound of the knife blade entering flesh reached Namai's ears, but it made his expression change. No. It's a soil substitute. Be cheated. Amid the exclamations of the audience, the body that fell to the ground suddenly turned into 2 puddles of mud as it was cut in half by the fire. Earth release the art of beheading in the heart. A pair of arms with short blades suddenly stretched out from Namai's feet. While holding Namai's ankles with both hands, the 2 short blades stabbed into his calf fiercely. Ah! Namai's legs suddenly started to bleed. She screamed and her body was pulled into the ground. The fiery figure slowly emerged from the ground and stood in front of Namai. Arashi Dun Ninja. Tisk. What a pity. Due to the rules of the competition, Huo Guang could not kill Namai in front of Hitaki Tsukumo, but looked at his head on the ground with regret. Namai gritted his teeth and looked at the fire with hatred. That's not necessarily the case. The remaining chakra in his body suddenly exploded, and the lightning exploded the surrounding soil. Namai jumped out of the ground with arcs of electricity all over his body. A sneer appeared at the corner of Huo Guang's mouth. Snort. It's just a dying struggle. The fire light retreated slightly to avoid Namai's final explosion, and formed a mudra with his hands. The strange power spread into Namai's ears along with his voice. Illusion eternal sleep. Namai's body stiffened, and his eyes suddenly brightened. The arc jumping on his body gradually extinguished, and he fell softly to the ground. Huo Guang put away his movements and was about to step forward to make up for it. A white-haired figure appeared in front of him instantly, reaching out to stop him. Namai of Cloud Hidden Village has lost the ability to fight, the game is over. Huo Guang's pupils shrank and his body suddenly tensed. Looking at Hitaki Tsukumo who was standing in front of him, he swallowed unconsciously. So strong. I didn't react at all. Is this the strength of Konoha White Fang? Huo Guang didn't dare to make any mistakes and took 2 careful steps back. He retracted the short blade on his arm and gave a respectful junior salute to Hitaki Tsukumo. Yes. Lord White Fang. Hitaki Tsukumo turned around and looked at the fire, nodded in praise. Nice tactic. Huo Guang was immediately flattered. In this battle, the winner is Iwagakure Firelight. Medical Ninja, take this player from Hidden Cloud Village for treatment. The game continues. The medical team ninjas waiting outside the field quickly came to Namai's side, put him on a stretcher, and carried him out of the field for treatment. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Onoki with a smile. The player from Union Village should be using a type of thunder release blood succession limit, right? Sir Tsuchikage, the players from your village can actually win. The young generation of Iwagakure Village is really incredible. Onoki looked at the winning fire, a look of satisfaction flashed in his eyes. Hearing what Sarutobi Hiruzen said, he laughed and said, "Ha ha. Hokage thanks. That kid Huo Guang is just playing some tricks, his true strength is not worth mentioning, not worth mentioning." Onoki's mouth was modest, but the wrinkles on his old face turned into a chrysanthemum when he smiled, exposing his true inner feelings. Tutai, who was sitting nearby, suddenly stood up, apologized to the United Nations representatives present, and walked down the stand with an ugly expression. Namai is the only talented ninja in Union Village who currently has the blood successor of Landun, so we can't have an accident under his leadership. The unconscious Namai was carried to Tsunade, who only took one look at him and handed him over to the students in the medical class. This kid was caught in a low-level illusion, and the chakra in his body was consumed too much. Except for the wound on the calf, there are no other major problems that don't require my treatment. I'll leave it to you to practice and help him heal the wound on his leg. Yes. Tsunade-sama. The two young medical ninjas agreed and began to use healing techniques to treat the wounds on Namai's legs. When Dodai came to the medical class, he finally breathed a sigh of relief when he saw Namai, who had woken up under the help of the medical ninja. "Namai, how do you feel?" Tutai came to Namai's hospital bed and asked with concern. Namai had not yet gotten over the feeling of failure. When she heard Tutai's question, she immediately sat up from the bed and angrily punched the bed board with a bang. "Lord Todai, I was too careless. That person knew that I was good at thunder release ninjutsu, but he used earth release from the beginning, which confused my judgment. I mistakenly thought he was a ninja who is good at earth escape and swordsmanship. I didn't expect that he is actually good at assassination and illusion. How despicable." Tutai looked at the aggrieved Namai and sighed secretly. Most of the ninjas in Union Village have a straightforward character, and Namai is a leader among the younger generation. His Landon skill makes him steal the show in the village. Even though he is usually lazy, like most Kumogakure, he has long developed a arrogant character. Alas. Still too young. But it's good to suffer a little. It is better to fail on the field than to lose your life on the battlefield later. Tutai thought to himself and comforted him again. "Namai, it's just a Chunin test, failure is nothing. Correct your attitude as a ninja, don't be careless, you will have a chance in the future. The will of a man in Union Village cannot be defeated by a single failure." With Tutai's comfort and persuasion, Namai finally calmed down her resentment and lay down again. The wound on his calf was bleeding too much, and the chakra in his body was depleted. As soon as the excitement subsided, Namai's spirit suddenly seemed a little sluggish. Upon seeing this, Tutai asked him to have a good rest here first, and then took him back to his residence after today's assessment was over. As Namai watched Tutai leave, he couldn't help but feel sleepy and fell into a deep sleep. Biliuhu, dressed in Anbu uniform, quietly appeared around the corner. Looking at Tutai going away, a sneer appeared in his eyes, and he turned and walked towards the outside of Konoha's first alert zone. Encountering two patrolling Hyuga clan ninjas on the road, Biliu suppressed his greed for Byakugan and took out a warrant from his arms. "On the order of Lord Danzo, I came here to perform a confidential mission. Please make it a point for the two Hyuga clan members to leave this area temporarily." Two Hyuga branch ninjas who were responsible for patrolling this area took the order from Bailahu. I identified it carefully. Sure enough, it had the mark of Konoha Elder Danzo printed on it. Looking at the masked Anbu ninja in front of them, the separated Hyuga clan members did not dare to neglect, and respectfully handed the warrant back to Biliuhu and bowed. "The warrant is confirmed to be correct. Sir, we will leave now." Biliuhu stuffed the warrant back into his arms and warned in a low voice. "Don't let others know that you met me here and delay Danzo-sama's mission. You know the consequences." The Hyuga ninja had naturally heard of Danzo's reputation. Hearing this, his expression suddenly tightened and he nodded hurriedly. "Yes. Please rest assured, sir, I know the rules." Biliuhu nodded with satisfaction, turned around and entered the depths of the forest. After Biliuhu's figure disappeared, one of the branch members opened his eyes and looked in the direction Biliuhu left. Seeing that he had gone away, he nodded to his companion. "Hizashi-sama is really good at predicting things. Someone from Danzo actually secretly came to the first security area. Let's go. Go back and report to Mr. Hizashi. Hinata Hizashi naturally does not have the ability to predict events like a god." After Biliuhu attacked the ninjas taking the assessment in Union Village, now Shu guessed from Fugaku's description that it might be Biliuhu who attacked Union. Especially after witnessing Namai's land done on the first day of the competition, Shenshu was even more certain of this fact. Throughout the history of Naruto, there are only a handful of ninjas who have the bloodstained limits of Arashi. Apart from Darui, who will become the fifth Raikage in the future, the only one who can use land done is Bailahu, who appeared in the movie version. Biliuhu's Oni Yaluo technique is to fuse the blood successor boundary by swallowing the blood successor ninja. And Darui was still alive and well until the end of the plot. So who did Biliuhu's land done swallow up? The answer is obvious. Namai was once attacked by him and left the ghost mark on his forehead. After being marked by him, Namai has been staying in Konoha village except for participating in the Chunin examination. After the last attack, the security forces have become more strict in protecting candidates from various countries, which makes it difficult for Biliuhu to find an opportunity to take action. As a foreigner, Namai wanted to escape from the Konoha village by controlling the curse seal, which seemed a bit unrealistic. Didn't you see that when Kakashi was controlled to leave Konoha, he was stopped by Izumo Kamizuki and Gang Zeti? Although I didn't stop him in the end. Therefore, Naoki can conclude that Biliuhu will definitely activate the curse seal in advance when the Chunin examination is held. The closest thing to the stadium is the large forest in the first warning zone. If Biliuhu doesn't want to attract too many people's attention, he will definitely find a way to distract the patrolling ninjas around him and control Namai's body to walk into the nearest Konoha forest. Naoki knew that during this Chunin selection, the Hyuga clan was dispatched to patrol the outskirts of Konoha, so he told Hazashi this conjecture. He was told to inform him immediately if something happened to a clan member or someone with roots went deep into the Konoha forest. Hazashi received the instructions from Naoki and passed on this order, so the two members of the Hyuga branch were greatly impressed by Hazashi's foresight. Biliuhu kept moving deeper into the forest until he could no longer hear the noise coming from the assessment site in the distance, and then moved forward for a while. Then he found an open space deep in the forest, turned around and faced the direction of Konoha, and formed a hand seal. Gui Yaluo curse seal, open. Biliuhu clasped his hands together, opened his eyes suddenly, and two scarlet rays of light shot out from his eyes, disappearing into the void instantly. Namai was lying on the bed in the medical class when a red eye pattern suddenly appeared on his forehead. His eyes suddenly opened, and his pupils turned blood red, emitting a strange red light. Namai's body lying on the bed suddenly sat up, startling the two medical ninjas who came to check on him. Hello. The wounds on your body have just healed. Tsunade-sama has told you not to get out of bed and move around casually. As if he didn't hear anything, Namai opened the quilt on his body, got out of bed and walked out the door. The two young medical ninjas suddenly became anxious and stepped forward to hold Namai's hands, trying to push him back to the bed. Why are you disobedient? My injury hasn't healed yet, so I want to run around on the ground. I'll have to treat you again when I fall. Namai didn't make a sound to refute, and waved both arms vigorously to the middle at the same time. The two medical ninjas who were grabbing him were caught off guard and collided with each other. Boom. With a muffled sound, the two medical ninjas, who had basically no fighting ability, rolled their eyes and fell to the ground softly. Namai let go of his hand, stepped out of the door, and walked deep into the forest without looking back. Tsunade, who lived next door, had heard the noise a long time ago and thought it was the injured and unconscious young Kumo nin who was having a temper, so she didn't bother to take care of it. She has seen this kind of medical trouble a lot. When the two young men couldn't solve the problem, she would take action again. In the medical field, no one dares not to give her Tsunade face. Just as he was thinking about it, he suddenly heard two sounds of falling to the ground. Tsunade's expression suddenly changed, and she kicked a big hole in the wall and came to the next door. The two young subordinates had fallen to the ground. Tsunade reached out and touched them and saw that they were just unconscious. While he felt relieved, a trace of anger appeared in his eyes. The brat from Union Village actually dared to knock me unconscious. I'm so impatient to live. Tsunade stood up angrily, quickly caught up with Namai who had not gone far, and blocked his way. Hey, kid, do you want the person who hit me to just walk away like this? Namai stared straight ahead with glowing red eyes, ignoring Tsunade's questions and walked straight towards Tsunade. Tsunade frowned, looking at Namai who was getting closer and closer, and reached out to punch this impolite brat. Sister, don't do anything yet. A hand suddenly appeared from the side, grabbing Tsunade's fist and pulling her aside. It was the rope tree that rushed here after receiving the notice of the day difference. Namai was completely unaware of the sudden appearance of the rope tree and still walked forward step by step. Tsunade was pulled aside and looked at the zombie-like Arashi-dun boy, her brows furrowed even deeper. Aren't you helping Tsukumo-senpai over there? Why are you here? What's going on with this guy? He looks a little weird. Shungshu explained casually. Brother Tsukumo, I'll use my shadow clone for a while to deal with this matter first. Sister, in his current state, someone has controlled his mind and body with a curse seal. Let's follow him and take a look. Under the instructions of the rope tree, Tsunade dispersed several guarding ninjas who wanted to come over to inquire about the situation. The two of them followed Namai step by step and gradually entered the Konoha forest. After entering the forest, Naoshu and Tsunade deliberately lagged behind, following Namai from a distance, keeping a distance that was not easily discovered. Tsunade was a little confused, but seeing that Naoki seemed to know something, she simply asked. Rose Tree, do you know what's going on? Naoshu nodded. Know something. If nothing else, you may see an old friend in a while. Tsunade looked at the rope tree in surprise, not quite understanding. Old friend. Yes. You and Mr. Orochimaru all know each other. Not long ago, Mr. Orochimaru was sent to hunt down him by Hiruzen Sarutobi. Tsunade was stunned and suddenly remembered something. You mean Beliuhu? Naoshu nodded. Good. Didn't he capture Konoha ninjas for human experiments last time and be classified as traitorous ninjas by Sarutobi Hiruzen? Later, he was rescued by that old guy Danzo. He was also responsible for what happened this time. Tsunade was suddenly confused. Why was Danzo included in everything? Just as she was about to continue asking Naoshu some details, Naoshu suddenly made a silencing gesture to her. Tsunade understood, and hid in a bush with the rope tree, and followed the rope tree's line of sight to look into the distance. Biruhu looked at Namai who was approaching, glanced behind him, and after making sure no one was coming with him, he pulled off the Anbu mask on his face, revealing a face covered in bandages. Tsunade looked at the bandaged man whose true appearance was completely unrecognizable, and cast a questioning look at the rope tree. Shungshu nodded, indicating that this was indeed Beliuhu. Only then did Tsunade look away in surprise. She really couldn't understand why Beliu became like this. Biruhu grinned in an exaggerated arc, looking at the unconscious Namai, the fire in his eyes almost overflowed. Lan done. With such a good blood inheritance limit, even the ninjas of the same generation can't beat it. It's really a waste to use it on you. Why don't you fulfill me, merge with me, and become an immortal existence? Hey hey. With a burst of deep laughter, a violent burst of chakra slowly rose from Beiyuhu's body, tearing his Anbu costume into pieces, and his body wrapped in bandages was immediately exposed. Dedicate everything you have to the great Lord Beliu. Onagora no Jutsu. Beliuhu formed a seal in his hand, and under the influence of Goiluo's technique, his mouth opened like a bloody mouth. A powerful pulling force erupted from Biruhu's mouth and wrapped around Namai's body. There was a look of struggle on Namai's face. He was torn apart by this force, his body twisted, and he was swallowed by Beliuhu in one gulp. There was a trace of painful madness in Beliuhu's eyes. His huge stretched belly stretched out, the bandages wrapped around his body, and his twisted and ugly body was immediately exposed from under the bandages. The skin is like pieces of rags of different colors sewn together with needle and thread, as if they were peeled off from different creatures and pieced together. It looks eerie. The two skinny arms were covered with blue-black scales, spreading from the back of the hands to the back. The blue-black scales shone with a smooth sheen as Beliuhu's body swayed. In other parts of the body, some organs or skin of other animals can also be vaguely seen. Coupled with the mouth full of fangs, it makes people feel cold. Looking at the humble and human-like figure, Tsunade felt a chill all over her body. She lowered her head unnaturally and quietly poked the rope tree. Rose Tree, don't you feel a little disgusted? Why do you keep staring at it? Naoshu shook his head. It's quite disgusting. I'm just curious about the process of merging the blood inheritance boundary with his secret technique. It seems quite painful. This guy is really cruel. The ugly and bloated body was exposed to the air, but Beliuhu didn't care about his current appearance. Dragging his clumsy body because he had swallowed a whole living person, Beliuhu's eyes looked even more crazy. Felt it. Lan Dun's power, fuse it with me. Beliuhu stretched out his arm, which seemed a little small compared to his body at the moment, and formed a handprint in front of him again. Psychic art. Bang bang. Two clouds of smoke exploded, and two strangely shaped giant psychic beasts appeared in front of Beliuhu. A lion beast with a single horn, a body with wings covered with scales, four legs of an unknown beast, a long scorpion tail behind it, and a poisonous stinger at the tip shining with cold light. It is the product of Biruhu's experiment with Kiaro's technique, a psychic monster stitched together from various ninja beasts. Guard the surroundings and don't let anyone get close to here. When the two psychic beasts heard Bilyuhu's order, they roared deeply, one on the left and the other on the right protecting Bilyuhu. Bilyuhu nodded with satisfaction, and once again formed the seal of Oni Yaluo's technique with his hands. The scarlet chakra unique to Kiaro's art emerged from the seams in Bailahu's skin, slowly wrapping Bailahu's body into a blood-red cocoon. Naoshu looked at Bilyuhu's actions and shook his head in disgust. Sister, this old classmate of yours doesn't seem to be very bright. Although two powerful psychic beasts appeared through the channeling, he dared to fuse secret techniques here so blatantly. I don't know who gave him the confidence. Tsunade. Naoshu felt even more speechless when he thought about Bilyuhu's actions in the movie version. In the original work, before he was about to seize Kakashi's Sharingan, Biruhu actually projected the projection almost to the entire ninja world with great fanfare. He openly challenged the 5 major powers and wanted to start the 4th ninja war on his own. When Shungshu saw this plot, he thought the author was deliberately trying to forcibly incapacitate the villain. Now it seems that he was wronged. This Bilyuhu is nothing short of weird. Tsunade was silent for a while, and glanced at Bailahu, who had turned into a cocoon, and the two equally ugly psychic beasts, and the discomfort in her heart became even heavier. The rope tree. Isn't it a bit bad for us to just watch Bailahu eat that little Kumogakure guy? What if he fuses successfully later, won't it be more difficult to deal with? Naoshu looked at the blood cocoon that had condensed into substance and sneered. The cloud-hidden village comes to Konoha with no good intentions. The 8 Tails has just been transferred into the new Jinchuriki's body. When they come to Konoha at this time, they will not just participate in the Chunin selection. I'm afraid that the 3rd Raikage is still planning to use the Uzumaki clan's sealing technique. Tsunade looked at the rope tree in confusion. How do you know? Shenshu smiled mysteriously. Sister, don't forget it. According to Shinya's guess, I am the reincarnation of the immortal of 6 paths. There is nothing that happens in the ninja world that I don't know about. Shungshu boasted about himself and said shamelessly. Tsunade rolled her eyes at him. If you don't want to say it, forget it, it's so mysterious. What about the reincarnation of the 6 paths sage? It's okay to deceive Orochimaru with such nonsense. You were raised by me and my sister. I still don't know what kind of person you are. Naoki touched his head, feeling a little overwhelmed by Tsunade's description, and smiled awkwardly. Tsunade looked at him angrily, suddenly remembering the relationship between the 6 paths sage and the Senju clan, and her brows suddenly furrowed. You brat, why do I feel that what you said just now is taking advantage of me? How come I have become your junior? Begging for a beating. Shungshu was about to explain that we are siblings, how can we take advantage of ourselves? Tsunade didn't give him a chance, and knocked the rope tree away with a single punch. Thump. The sound of Shungshu falling to the ground startled Bilyuhu, and Bilyuhu's voice of shock and anger came from the blood cocoon. Who? Shungshu calmly stood up from the ground and patted the dirt on his body. Bilyuhu, your story has been exposed. Danzo-sama asked me to kill you and silence you. Bailu, who was in the blood cocoon, was startled and accelerated his devouring speed. Fortunately, this was not the first time that he had devoured the blood successor's limited ability. The blood cocoon jumped a few times under the accelerated operation of Oni Miluo's technique. Click. There was a dense sound like the breaking of eggshells, and cracks appeared in the blood cocoon wrapping Bilyuhu, and Bilyuhu's figure emerged from the blood cocoon. Bailahu glanced at the rope tree that appeared in front of him, and when he saw that it was just a young man wearing a Konoha Chunin vest, a hint of murderous intent suddenly appeared in his eyes. Unhurriedly, he re-wrapped his ugly body exposed to the air with a bandage, and Bilyuhu showed a ferocious smile to the rope tree. That old guy Danzo is really unreliable. But sending you alone to kill me would be too underestimated for me, Bilyuhu. Kill him. The two psychic beasts were already eager to try. After hearing Bilyuhu's order, they roared and rushed towards the rope tree at the same time. One flew into the sky, and the huge wind waves rolled up by its wings made the rope tree's eyes narrow slightly. The other one ran from the ground, opening its mouth to bite at the same time. The huge scorpion tail was like a steel hook, with a fishy smell. The breath attacked Naoshu's body. Naoki was dumbfounded by Baruhu's reaction. No way. Does this guy really believe that I was sent by Danzo? When Tsunade knocked out the rope tree with one punch, she realized that she was too impulsive. At this moment, seeing the rope tree under attack, he felt anxious and jumped out of his hiding place. Beliuhu, how dare you hurt my brother? The body instantly appeared in front of the rope tree, grabbed the attacking scorpion's tail, activated the strange power in his hand, and pulled the scorpion's tail around. The huge psychic monster let out a panicked scream, and collided with the one that jumped from the air with a bang. The two psychic beasts let out an angry roar and rolled far away on the ground. Biruhu looked at Tsunade who suddenly appeared, his pupils shrank, and a crazy smile appeared on his face. Hey. I thought Danzo really only sent a Chunin to kill me. It turns out to be Tsunade. Did that old guy Danzo join forces with the third Hokage? No wonder you found this place. At this moment, Tsunade was amazed at the strange circuits of Belihu's brain. This guy wouldn't have damaged his brain by fusing too many things, right? But it doesn't matter. As the first person to discover my secret, I will use my newly acquired power to send you on your way. I will let you know that I am no longer the mediocre talent you laughed at. Lan Dun Lei Chinbo. As Belihu activated Lan Dun's ability, dark clouds suddenly appeared in the sky above the forest. Under the influence of chakra, the dark clouds swirled in the sky to form a vortex, weighing low on the treetops. Thunder light loomed in the whirlpool, and thunder and lightning poured down from the thunder clouds, striking towards the position where the rope tree and Tsunade stood. The two of them stepped away. Tsunade shouted loudly, cracked the ground with her foot, and shot towards Biruhu first. The fist was wrapped with terrifying chakra, and it hit Biruhu's deformed body hard. Beliuhu saw Tsunade quickly forming seals in her hands. Steel escape. After blessing himself with steel release, Beliuhu looked at Tsunade with a hint of contempt in his eyes, and slowly stretched out his right hand to face Tsunade's incoming fist, and the diamond-shaped hole in his palm opened. Mingdu sucked the holes. Seeing the contempt in Beliuhu's eyes, Tsunade gritted her teeth bitterly, shouted loudly, and hit Beliuhu's outstretched right palm impartially. The ferocious smile on Beliuhu's face became even more arrogant, and his grin revealed a mouth of terrifying fangs. Tsunade, it's useless. Under my escape, all chakra will be absorbed by me. The effect of ninjutsu is equivalent to 0 for me. With just the strength of your body, you can't break through my steel escape defense. I have surpassed the Sannin and become someone you need to look up to. Ha 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 ha. Tsunade raised her eyebrows and squeezed out a sentence from between her teeth. Don't underestimate the power of the Thousand Hands clan, you fool. The next moment, Wei Li punched and collided with Beliuhu's palm exerting steel escape and Ming escape. Boom. Crack. Ah. This is impossible. Mingdun is indeed worthy of the title of being able to absorb ninjutsu. Most of the chakra wrapped in Tsunade's fist was absorbed almost the moment it came into contact with Biruhu's palm. However, how could Tsunade's strange power fist be as simple as wrapping chakra around the fist? That was just a protective layer created by Tsunade not to let herself come into contact with Belihu's ugly and twisted body. Seeing that the chakra on Tsunade's fist disappeared at a speed visible to the naked eye, Beliuhu felt even more proud. Just as he was about to taunt Tsunade again for overestimating his own abilities, he suddenly felt a terrifying force in his right hand. Under the pressure of this force, the whole arm instantly made a snapping sound, and the bones and tendons were broken by Tsunade. The remaining power was transmitted to Beliuhu's body through his arm. Beliuhu screamed and flew backwards with his broken right arm. Tsunade retracted her fist and snorted disdainfully. TCH. That's it. Belu exhaled and got up from the ground in frustration, his eyes about to spit out fire with anger. He was also unlucky. The last time he was chased by Orochimaru, the steel escape was slashed by Orochimaru's Kusanagi sword, and he couldn't resist it at all. However, the ninjutsu that Orochimaru is good at are still snake ninjutsu of the psychic series, and Biruhu's dark release has no effect at all. If you lose that time, you will lose. After all, there are still only a few ninjas in the entire ninja world who possess artifacts and use snake ninjutsu. At most, they can just avoid Orochimaru until Onagura's art is perfected. This time, he finally merged with Lan Dun's blood inheritance limit, and Bei Liuhu was feeling proud. But he didn't expect to meet Tsunade, a special being who had made a name for herself with only medical ninjutsu and strange strength. Without knowing Tsunade's details, he suffered a big loss immediately. Shungshu stood aside to avoid the thunder and lightning that fell from time to time in the thunder clouds. Seeing Beiliu's embarrassed look, he almost couldn't help laughing. Beiliu glared at Tsunade fiercely, the red light of Oniyaro's technique surged around his body, and in a moment, the arm that had been broken by Tsunade returned to its original state. I was careless just now. I didn't expect your power to be so strong. Next, I won't make this mistake again. See Lan Dun's true power. Lan Dun Lan Ghost Dragon. As the Beiliu Mudra posture was completed, the rotating thunderclouds in the sky suddenly rolled and surged. The lightning slowly gathered and condensed into a giant dragon covered in lightning. The dragon roared, and its long thunder body snaked towards Tsunade. Tsunade looked solemnly at the giant dragon that exuded terrifying thunder and lightning power, feeling that she might not be able to compete with it with her own strength. When he was hesitating in his mind whether to open the yin seal that he had not yet completely mastered and fight against Biruhu's Lan Dun, the figure of Naoki suddenly stood in front of Tsunade. Sister, step aside first and leave this guy to me. Tsunade knew that Naoki's strength far exceeded hers, so she didn't refute what she heard. Well, be careful. This thunder dragon may have the ability to absorb chakra just like Mingyu. Shungshu nodded and looked at the thunder dragon falling from the sky with a trace of disdain in his eyes. Do not worry. Sharingan, open. The Sharingan appeared in his eyes, and the pattern of the kaleidoscope slowly appeared. Biruhu on the opposite side saw the Sharingan in Naoki's eyes, with a hint of ecstasy in his eyes. Ha ha. It's actually the Sharingan. It really takes no effort at all. Kid, your power belongs to me. Bei Liuhu laughed crazily, changed the seal in his hand, and controlled the land ghost dragon to wrap around the rope tree. He planned to let Arashi Kiryu tie up the rope tree, drain the chakra, and then find a place to slowly devour his Sharingan. Susanoo. In order to be less conspicuous, Naoki only slightly activated some of his eye power, and only the upper body of the azure giant Susanoo appeared. Susanoo's defensive power is quite excellent, but after all, it is composed of physical chakra, and Arashi's absorption ability also works on Susanoo. But the purpose of the rope tree summoning Susanoo was not to fight, but to buy some time. Beiliu looked at the chakra entity giant that suddenly appeared, and the look in his eyes was even more fanatical. Okay. I didn't expect the Sharingan to have this kind of ability in addition to illusions. Only I, Beiliu, am worthy of possessing such a powerful power. Come on. I can't wait to become one with you. Naoshu sneered. Since you like my eyes so much, then feel its power. God's birth nest. The parasitic pupil technique in the right eye was activated, and the power of death slowly flowed out of the eye. The dark figure of the god of death condensed in the void holding a sickle. Deal with him, I'll keep the body for use. Naoki glanced at Susanoo who was being swallowed by the Arashi ghost dragon, and gave an order to the death god. The god of death bowed in the void, followed the instructions of the creator, turned around and flew in front of Beiliu. In his empty eyes, soul fire looked at Bei Liuhu, seemingly disgusted. What a dirty and mixed soul power. Death thought so. But this is the creator's order, and death must carry it out. At worst, just extract this dirty soul and disperse it. The sickle was raised high and swung down towards Beiliu. Bei Liuhu felt an instinctive fear, and his pupils shrank to avoid the attack of the god of death. But the lock of death's powerful soul power is beyond what his soul, which has become complex after fusing many bodies, can contend. The black soul sickle instantly cut across Bei Liuhu's body. Bei Liuhu's body froze, his pupils instantly dilated, and the crazy look of fear in his eyes disappeared. The land ghost dragon in the sky whined and disappeared without a trace together with the thunder clouds. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.